If the guarantee has been restored, and if the cedi is no longer shielding consumers from levies impacts, then the justification for the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy has completely evaporated. Keeping it is not policy, it is punishment. We call on government to immediately amend the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025 under a certificate of urgency to repeal the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy forthwith. The warranted tariff reduction for the current period should have been, and I repeat, should have been no less than 10%. Our own analysis of the full year 2025 data concurs. We call on the PRC to urgently review its methodology using verified actual economic data to implement a corrective adjustment that delivers genuine relief, not less than 10% to consumers in Q3 of 2026. It is no longer shielding consumers from levies impacts, then the justification for the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy has completely evaporated. Keeping it is not policy, it is punishment. We call on government to immediately amend the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025 under a certificate of urgency to repeal the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy forthwith. The warranted tariff reduction for the current period should have been, and I repeat, should have been no less than 10%. Our own analysis of the full year 2025 data concurs. We call on the PRC to urgently review its methodology using verified actual economic data to implement a corrective adjustment that delivers genuine relief, not less than 10% to consumers in Q3 of 2026. If the guarantee has been restored, and if the cedi is no longer shielding consumers from levies impacts, then the justification for the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy has completely evaporated. Keeping it is not policy, it is punishment. We call on government to immediately amend the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025 under a certificate of urgency to repeal the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy forthwith. The warranted tariff reduction for the current period should have been, and I repeat, should have been no less than 10%. Our own analysis of the full year 2025 data concurs. We call on the PRC to urgently review its methodology using verified actual economic data to implement a corrective adjustment that delivers genuine relief, not less than 10% to consumers in Q3 of 2026.
Oh, that's the minority making that strong call for a consideration of the 1 cedi levy that was imposed on petroleum products for the revenue generation to offset or pay the legacy debt in the energy sector, in their view, should be removed to reduce the burden on the Ghanaian regarding the impact of the increases in petroleum products as a result of what is happening outside of the shores of this country. In fact, analysts project that crude oil could reach maybe about $120 very soon. And I'll tell you what the situation on the world market is looking like this morning and whether it is time to consider that proposal, taking into consideration the fact that already we have seen an increase in the price of petrol, diesel, LPG at the pumps. Just at the second, that's the second pricing window in the month of March. How are things going to look like in the coming days is a conversation we would have this morning. This is tied into another development this week. Just a few days ago, the Burkina Faso government also issued a directive that tomato exports from that country has been banned in the next 2 weeks. This is just a period of mercy or some period that a grace period that has been given to people who have any arrangements with tomato growers or traders in Burkina Faso to round up their work and their transactions And in the next 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, every engagement or transaction will be rendered null and void and of no effect. What does that mean for Ghana, taking into consideration the fact that between 70 to 80% of the tomatoes grown in Burkina Faso finds its way into Ghana? And we're spending over $400 million the last time we checked to import tomatoes from Burkina Faso. Now, when this terrorist attack took place a little over a month ago, this conversation about self-sufficiency of tomatoes, started. Now, the urgency of it is on the table. We will have a conversation this morning on this matter here on the Key Point. Also, Ghana is preparing for what the government is describing as the final SIM card registration exercise. It's a full biometric process designed to close the loopholes that undermined a previous exercise conducted between 2021 and 2023. But the reactions from the Ghanaian populace is, why do we have to do this again? What is the real justification for this? What was done in this 2021 to 2023 SIM card registration, which really rendered it ineffective in addressing the real issues why we had to even queue or going through all that stress to get SIM cards registered within that period of 2021, 2023. And now we have to do this again. What's the guarantee that this is going to be the last of any SIM registration exercise for that matter? Well, the minister in charge of communications, Samuel Nate George, the Ningo Prampram member of parliament, will be joining us. We would have to get some answers to the questions that you have been asking. So get ready with all the questions you have on this impending exercise of what has been christened the final SIM registration. We'll have a conversation on this matter this morning here on the Key Point. As always, your thoughts and views and your comments are always welcome. You can engage with us in various or through various means. Share your thoughts on Facebook and also on YouTube. We'll read out to you and to the rest of the world. And as always, we're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're also on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London and Voice of London television as well. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. My name is Alfred Okansi. Welcome to the Key Point. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
We have been working with these Burkina people for some years now, so when we heard of the tomato export ban, we were disturbed. The little we have available is getting finished. We want Ghana authorities to help us get the tomato, else in 2 weeks' time we might not have tomatoes in Ghana to eat. We have invested into these businesses and this sudden decision will affect our trade.
We have taken a lot of money to purchase these tomatoes and they are not buying, so we are very angry.
Well, welcome. This is the poll tracker on the key point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. You hear those traders complaining about a number of things. One, a possible surge in the prices of tomatoes on the market in the coming weeks. All things being equal, if this Burkina Faso directive remains in force. And you hear them talking about a 2-week period because that is the period that the Burkinabe government has given to anyone who has any transaction or business engagement with any tomato trader in Burkina Faso to round up that transaction, finish it, execute it, and just get your goods out. Other than that, after 2 weeks, no transaction or any engagement for tomato trade will be valid. It will be declared null and void and of no effect. That is what the Burkinabe government has decided to go, the path that they have decided to take. And this is what has generated quite some concern from the traders, not just the traders, but people as well who have been looking at how this would impact on us. The statement by the Deputy Agric Minister, John Dumelo, that because of this situation, Ghana could be self-sufficient in terms of the tomato production in this country or cultivation in this country between the next 2 to 4 years. That's when we'll see that we are not depending on any other country for any tomato for that matter. But this is what the Burkinabe government has decided to do. There was a response now from the government of Ghana. They say they're going to engage Burkina Faso authorities over this tomato ban export and actually is urgent calm. This is the statement that came through from the government of Ghana yesterday, that they will engage authorities in Burkina Faso over this decision to ban the export of the fresh tomatoes, following the directive suspending the export of the fresh tomatoes, which took effect March 16th. This was some 3 days, well, about 4 days ago, March 16th, 2026. Here's the effect. In the coming days, we expect, according to this statement from government, an engagement with the Burkina Faso counterparts which will seek to address concerns, according to this statement, surrounding the ban and chart a mutually beneficial way for both countries. That is the statement that has come through as we speak from the government of Ghana. But why is this a big problem? It is a big issue because from what we have observed, we spend about $400 million and more, over $400 million importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso alone. Think about it, over $400 million. And this is captured in various documents, including that of the Ghana Statistical Service. This is the picture of our tomato demand or consumption in this country. The market demand is about between 900,000 and 1.3 million metric tons of tomatoes annually. Out of this range of between 900,000 and 1.3 million metric tons of tomatoes we consume in this country, 35% of it is grown domestically, so that a little over 380,000 metric tons of the about 1.3 million metric tons of tomatoes that we consume in this country is grown. About 65% of our reliance and consumption of tomatoes is imported into this country. That makes up 900,000 metric tons deficit. That is what we have to look out there to import into this country. And a chunk of this 900,000 metric tons that we import into this country comes from Burkina Faso, as we are seeing right now on the screen. As a matter of fact, 75% of our tomato needs comes from Burkina Faso, and about 25% comes from the rest of the world. But the big issue, and the reason why this is of serious concern, is the tomato reliance on Burkina Faso. This is the big issue. The big problem here is that as we speak, there is no, as far as we are concerned, alternative policy in place right now, like to address this shortfall. That if Burkina Faso goes ahead, as they have indicated, to ban tomato exports because they want to concentrate on the internal needs and then also the adding value. They are feeding their companies in there, then there's going to be a big problem, because we have to find a way to make up for this 75%, which is about 900,000 metric tons. That's a big issue. Beyond that, these are the two areas that we mainly import tomatoes from. And when this terrorist attack on the Ghanaian traders happened in this particular area, there was this concern about we looking inward and beginning to think about tomato self-sufficiency, so that we will reduce not just the reliance on Burkina Faso, but also the security issues that the traders, Ghanaian traders, face when they go on this journey of going to buy tomatoes from Burkina Faso. Now we are faced with this bigger challenge of this decision by the Burkinabe government, to the extent that beyond all this, what you are seeing about how much we import from Burkina Faso, in monetary terms, we're spending over $400 million importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso. If there has to be a plan, a policy to ensure that we're investing in this country so that we would have farmers who can get enough resources, we have a lot more tomato farmers in this country producing or cultivating the kind of tomatoes that the market needs. And I say that because if you go to the market, you would experience the reaction and then also the response from the market women. So Ghanaian tomatoes is mostly, has a lot more water in there, but the Burkina Faso tomatoes has a lot more fiber. I visit the Medina market, the Tudu market. When I go there on weekends, this is what these tomato traders and the market women tell me, and I'm sure my guests will also corroborate this kind of response that you get from the market women. If that's the case, and we like tomatoes from Burkina Faso, rich in fiber, What is the thinking? In fact, if you go to the CSIR, they have a lot more variety of tomatoes. So what is the issue? What is the policy direction? And that's the big conversation we're going to be having this morning because of what's happened now. We have a chunk of our population involved in agriculture. Yet, we are talking about this problem of self-sufficiency when it comes to the cultivation of certain agricultural produce or food items. If you look at how much we're spending on our import bill of food, we import all sorts of things, bladder, yemuadie, all those things into this country. What is the policy direction? This is what the Ghana Statistical Service gave us when it comes to the labor force statistics for the first to the third quarter of the year 2025. The number of young people, in fact, and that number is growing. The number, the 2 million young people you see there, it actually could be more as we speak. But within that first to third quarter, about 330,000 plus jobs, net jobs were created. But if you drill down the data, it gives you an idea of how troubling this particular situation is. And you have a lot more female who were employed than male. But then there's a lot more rural, in fact, the urban distribution of the employed. This is what I want us to pay attention to, and that's relevant to the conversation. In terms of the sectorial breakdown of the sectors employing a lot of Ghanaians, 44.5% of this number, about almost in the agri sector. Why is this the case when we're saying that even though agri remains the backbone of this economy, we say we're an agrarian economy, but why are we not able to cultivate the tomatoes that we need in this country? This is how the picture looks like. And this tells a very important story. And this is where I bring in my guest who joining us in the studio right now. Akosua Manu is aide to the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mamono Bawumia, then also the former Adenta parliamentary candidate for the NPP in the 2024 elections. Akosua Manu, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
This is your first time here on the Key Point?
No, I've been here. I remember a couple of years ago about Eduji, just you and I think one Saturday morning, a while back.
Wow.
I don't think it was called the big issues then.
Indeed. Welcome back then.
Thank you.
It's been a while then.
Thank you.
Perfect. Also joining us is Martin Kpebu. He's private legal practitioner and also the convener of the Kumipreku Reloaded demonstration. Council.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Salaam alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam. Good. Good. It's good. Today you are probably attired for the occasion. That's why I was so come this way. Maybe I should have been in a hijab. Hijab and is it abaya, right? Yeah, so next year we shall have a date on this very day.
Sure.
So that to be uniform. Yes, it's good. I mean, and it's good the way we are integrating.
True.
You know, now even Christians and other religious faiths have taken over the celebrations, etc.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good. I mean, we've always had this strong tradition of living together, okay, in peace, diversity. Yeah, because that's one of our greatest strengths, where we've intermarried across ethnic backgrounds and the religious backgrounds. It's good because when you pick a gun and you want to shoot, you may end up shooting your own cousin or nephew, etc. So it's good. It will take us very far.
Absolutely.
We are just left with the bit of the laziness. We don't like to confront it that way. We think because we are speaking English, we are not lazy. But this tomato conversation will show that there's a bit of laziness in our structure. Yeah, because we can't be that hungry. Just cross Adenta right now. See. Vast areas of arable lands. Just Adenta. When the moment you cross Oyarifa, and yet we are here every year complaining about tomatoes, etc. Go to Akumadan, I'm sure we'll come there. So let me do the rituals first, and then we would continue. So once again, we want to thank the good people of Ghana for making this show. They are unparalleled and uncontested #1 show. The way we've been popping the charts, I mean, it's amazing. You look at the numbers, you're like, yes, the people of Ghana know where to tune in on Saturday mornings. So good show. Continue to keep it at #1 and continue to bring in your insights, because without your insights, this program is not complete.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's
and once again, want to do the history, remind ourselves a little bit about the valiant people who stood up when Akufo-Addo was maltreating us, right? Yes, and to us for Ekufu, Ose-Adeyo Ajimambedu, the second, Garmanche, Kentucky Teku through the second. We hope Garmanche is far better now, right? Maybe you should be interviewing to see how he's faring now.
I think it will be a good call.
Yes, yes. Garmanche, we are very grateful and wish you a speedy recovery. And of course, Tugbe Afede. Yeah, Tugbe Afede is now on the council of, is it Yale School of Law?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great achievement. That's good. So we thank you very much, the people of Ghana. Let's get into it. Of course, we've not forgotten the men above 40. Please, the prostate check. Please do it. Prostate check. Once you're above 40, it's mandatory. Start checking early. We don't want to lose you needlessly. All right? And then those who pee outside, please stop peeing outside. Both men and women.
Very important
stop
campaign.
peeing outside. It makes us very backward. I mean, it's humiliating. The more you pee outside, the more it blemishes all of us. We are all tarnished. When one man pees outside, it blemishes the whole society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we had some officials from the Ghana Health Service actually reach us within the week to commend the over 40-year-old campaign you've been making for prostate cancer check. So this is to you from the Ghana Health Service.
All of
it's
us.
An important.
It's your platform. TV3 always does it, you know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Peter Boama Otokono is also joining us on Zoom. And it's for a good reason, because when it comes to the agricultural policy of this administration at the presidency, he's the one who is leading it and thinking through that policy. Doc, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred, and thanks for having me.
Perfect. Now, this is the picture that we're starting this conversation with, and taking into consideration the fact that what is happening in Burkina Faso, this is what we're having to face. 75% or more of our tomato needs come from the government of that country has decided to look inward. A troubling development, Council, you say? Let me start with you on this.
Well, I always believe that they say what? Is it, behind every cloud, there's a silver lining, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I like the way the Deputy Agri Minister has put it, John Dumelo, that it's an opportunity for us to then also step up. Yeah, because we can't continue to be fed by Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is essentially Sahelian, dry.
True.
Dry land.
But they are doing something right.
Exactly, and we are here speaking big English. I always say that, Ghana, it looks like the moment you go to university, okay, you finish university, when we are counting, excuse my language, but it's good we confront it, fools or stupid people, you are not in because you have a university degree. That's just how it appears. And so it permeates through the way we do our things. So the moment you go to university, then generally, it's like, oh, Agric is not for you. Agric is for the other persons who haven't made it to university, etc. Largely, I'm talking about the perception. But we also know that the reality is that even the president, even the Executive Mama, etc., Minta Kando, and other ministers are big shots. So the more you see your president on the farm, and that's one thing I have against Bawumia. I remember the last I said, it's good that Christian Benin is here. I said, Bawumia, you come from the north. For 8 years, I never saw Bawumia in a picture on a farm. I was like, I lived in the north, right? Part of my lineage is from there. Who went to farm? If you come from the north, 8 years, there's no picture. I did them.
So is that to say that we'll find out if he has a farm?
I haven't said no. Even
but
if you
the fact that you didn't see him on in a picture on a farm may not necessarily mean that he doesn't have a farm.
No, but that's bad. So that's what I'm saying, the handless. So
we have this problem.
So you need to project. No, let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay, let me
tokens. You don't
it's
want
not tokens. No, it's not tokens.
Okay, gentlemen.
It's how you socialize. It's not tokenism. It's you know this guy, what do you call the peanut farmer, the U.S. president, the Christian one, Jimmy Carter. Yeah, Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer. Yeah, he was trained as a Navy engineer, etc. Right? Sorry?
So all our presidents shall hopefully.
It goes a long way.
When you have medical problems, all of them should be doctors.
Oh, no, that's where they have.
And when you have transport problems, all of them should be.
It goes a long way. Well, that's your thinking, but it goes a long way when you project big people. So what did I say? I was saying big people in what? Agriculture. So that the teeming youth who have no jobs will see that, oh, it's not as denigrating as we think. Okay? Yeah, denigrate. Yeah, that's not it. So it means that, yes, you can go to uni, you can be PhD, and I've seen a lot of PhD farmers. That's why I said, let's have a dedicated program for them so that we can continue to show those people. Then as the youth see this, then it will help to erase their thinking that farming is for those who haven't made it to uni. It's a strong perception. You can't wipe it away. So that's different from what Kofi and Akusi are thinking. You get the more I mentioned your case. We are not talking politics. I'm just showing you a practical example that the leader should lead. This is what we mean by leadership by example. Yes, leadership by example, right? Yeah, because I mean, look at the land. We have so much land. Akumadan, of course, the tomatoes herb of Ghana. Right? There's a lot of arable land there.
Right.
You go to the north, via irrigation farms. Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah's time, yeah, they did a lot of irrigation,
Indeed.
Tono, etc., other parts of the north. So, in one word, we have no excuse. Even people who are in deserts, Israel, Burkina Faso, they are doing serious agriculture.
Absolutely.
And we are here and doing all manner of things and thinking that because we speak English, everything is fine. That's why I said there's a bit of laziness in the whole approach. Because if we were hardworking enough, I'm sure by now we would have psyched up our teeming youth to go into agriculture. Yes, there's a matter of capital, I'm aware. So when I say go in, I'm not saying go in barehanded. No, go in with government support.
Yeah.
Remember the NDC administration, the first one. Now the head of the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, Vincent Kouagbenu. You know, when he was in charge of the National Service in the JM's first administration, they did an excellent job. The National Service farm that they had those years, yeah, they did very well. I remember seeing them on TV, and the man was ruthless. So I remember even when JM came the second time, I thought, oh, that's where they will send him back to, so that he will help to ramp up agriculture. So the thing is that it's humiliating for us as a nation. It's very humiliating. We can't have natural resources like this and still be hungry. The tomatoes import is just this is the tip of the iceberg. We know about poultry, we know about rice, we know about etc. And that's why in 2016 we brought in what? Akufo-Addo, because he said, oh, that's the Gettysburg economy. You know, we export cocoa, the gold, etc., and then we end up using our money to buy rice, poultry, oil, right? And that's why he said he would dismantle in what? 18 months. And that sounded very laudable. It looked like the game changer. The game changer. We brought him in, and for 8 years at the time they were going, the poultry industry had apparently collapsed. So we had reversed. Yes, the poultry people. By the time you guys were leaving, the poultry industry had virtually collapsed. So the thing is that, and you know, from Kwame Nkrumah's 7-year development plan, you check from independence, this matters. They've bedeviled us, despite everything that Kwame Nkrumah did. You know, there's also the part about the Ghanaians' insatiable appetite for foreign goods. You see the tomatoes, now they're showing that, oh, the Burkina Faso one has what? More fiber. Ours is watery. Well, it's difficult, but, you know, sometimes we have to patronize what we produce. Like Dan Latte said, domestication.
There's a challenge there. If you, the domestication and then also loving your country, how does that influence consumer demand or consumer preferences? Because it is what you can afford that you use your money for, not so much about how patriotic you are. So you are looking out for a quality item, is it not? Yeah. An item that's nutritious. Yeah. The reason why you will have even the traders tell you that way free Burkina if you go to the market. Yes. Because they would tell you that it's rich in fiber, they'll give you the ingredients.
Yeah. Yes.
And you have some from, you have Abidjan pepper or something of the sort. We're importing all sorts of things.
Yes.
So that's where the issue is, because they're also selling to you what they know is of a certain quality.
Good, good. It's not to say that ours is of an inferior quality, but I understand it's about the shelf life, the longevity. So the watery one apparently spoils, like you say locally or colloquially, faster than the one with the higher fiber.
True.
That's my understanding of it. So it means that we have to look at what? Processing, the value chain. So we have to look at processing. That will help to curb. But we can't say that, oh, just because this is watery, we shun that. It's like the debate about rice. So I can tell you that, look, I don't buy foreign rice. No, not in my house, of course, where, you know, the women control. But anytime I have the opportunity, it's all about local rice. So we still come back to that behavioral change, because we've been accustomed, a lot of people, that, oh, it's a foreign one that's better.
Okay.
Right? So, and in terms of the quality, you know, we've developed some local varieties that are now coming up. I hear it's called Kwabna. Yeah, Kwabna. Yeah,
the tomatoes is called Kwabna.
Kwabna. Okay. Yeah, yesterday I followed, there's a professor, a Dutch professor who came in and they've done some work. So I understand now with our Kwabna, hopefully when they scale up, we should be fine in terms of looking for higher fiber, right? Yeah.
Let me welcome Alice. You've heard his voice already, but it's just for good reason I have to officially acknowledge his presence. Kofi Bentil is Vice President of Imani Africa. He's a private legal practitioner, and he has love for Ghana and an undiluted love for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
And that's where he gets it wrong.
No, please. Lawyer Kofi Bentil, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Don't mind this man.
You're going to oblivion with that choice.
Wait, please.
Good. So I'll waste my time on the point, but just, you see, when we get to it, I also looked around the thing. The problem sometimes we have, and on the issue of tomato, is tokenism. Sometimes we don't want to deal with the problem. You want your president to go and work on a farm because tomorrow you have transport problems, you should become a transport. Tomorrow you have electric, you know, let's drop that. But since he uses the early times to do his politics, see, it's not on the topic. There are a few things that nowadays when I see I also mention. So yesterday I posted something about some vessel, some marine vessel that had broken down in the middle of the front plane somewhere. And there were people on the thing stuck there for 3 hours, you know, can't move, can't go anywhere. And I'm like, who is the district chief executive there? What is our government doing? You know, there are so many little things that just happen, and then you realize that, look, we are all at risk. If that vessel was taking water, those people would die.
Absolutely.
So some of these
planes,
things, from planes, and I put it on Facebook.
Right.
It is a bit worrying.
It's one to follow up on.
We'll get to some of the other things.
Perfect.
But good to be here.
Truly appreciate it. Thank you. Professor Ransford Jampo is the CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority. There's another name he has, which I was going to add, but he is also a professor of political science at the University of Ghana. It's actually good to know that you still go back to the lecture hall, you know, to contribute to growing minds. Prof, good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Thanks. And good morning to Martin, to Reverend Bentil, and to Akosia, who has started attacking me off camera.
It started already?
Attacking me off camera. Akosia, good to see you. We've not met like this in person before. But then also, good morning to my shippers, and just want to let them know or remind them of a statement we issued about somewhere last week or 2 weeks ago that, as you may all be aware, this Israel-America-Iranian conflict has brought about some disruptions in global shipping routes. And then it has also brought about the introduction of war risk and emergency surcharges. You know, it is a global industry practice for shipping lines to introduce war risk surcharges and also emergency surcharges when vessels operate in or near conflict, affected areas. And this is creating some uneasiness. The possible implications are that, number one, you're going to have high rates and shipping costs. You're going to have longer transit times due to vessel rerouting, supply chain disruptions for certain commodities, possible increase in landed cost or imported goods, and delays in vessels availability to affected regions. And we are advising them that they should engage proactively with shipping lines and logistics providers regarding these surcharges. The shipping lines, even if they have to impose these surcharges, will have to go through some rules. And so they should engage, and then where these rules that will have to be resorted to in imposing the surcharges have not been resorted to, we at the Shippers Authority are always ready to intervene to ensure that the right thing is done and be giving them advice as and when necessary. But do you want me to have a little bite on what Martin was saying? I mean, the tomato...
No, I'll come to you.
Okay, you come to me. Yes. All right, so once again, I'm happy to be here, Alfred.
As always.
You are looking splendid. Your tailor is always sewing for you alone, and not...
No, you will all get some. I mean, I think it's something that can be arranged. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. On the back of where Matikpebo ended, and this is where I bring in Akosia, because it's also about policy. It's about a certain level of intentionality.
That's it.
Okay,
all there is to it.
To get not just people involved in agri, because if we're an agrarian economy, I've always doubted
are we
that.
Agreeing? Services economy.
The services sector has actually led for quite a while. If you look at their contribution to GDP, the various sectors.
So look, I'm the expert there. Please.
Yes, we'll come to you on that particular one. But if you look at the number of young people, and this is the regional distribution of the rate of unemployment, look at that. Everybody is looking for some office job to do. Where is the problem? Is it a policy disconnect or the lack of investment in the agri sector to, as it were, grow a lot more agricultural entrepreneurs who are business-minded and not just farming for their small family, feed them and move forward?
That comes
please.
to me. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning to your viewers and happy Eid to everyone.
Thank you.
The Burkina Faso problem, for me, it spells a national security risk at the very least. Why am I saying this? We have a situation where we have not gotten to a level where we even have self-sufficiency when it comes to tomato production or its growth. The saddest thing was just a couple of weeks ago where young people went up, to Burkina Faso. Whatever reasons people ascribe to them losing their lives, at the end of the day, it happened.
True.
The fact also is that we can't grow tomatoes in Ghana. There are parts in the upper west where it's rife and great for us to produce. At least when it comes to intentionality or policy, as you describe it, between 2017 and 2024, there were 2 programs, Planting for Food and Jobs 1 and 2. As to whether it succeeded enough for us to get at least to self-sufficiency, we didn't ultimately get there. But we made some progress. As we speak, and I think the data as of last year puts tomato imports at a cost of $400 million, which is, again, on intentionality. At least the previous government saw it wise to improve or to undertake industrialization under the 1D, 1F policy. So it is not about holding a tomato to stand on a farm that makes somebody a great leader like lawyer Martin Pebu was suggesting. It's the leader who says that let's move from growing to value addition, and that is what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia proposes, and this was evident through 1D, 1F, and the several factories that went up that are currently, I believe, gathering dust. We'll have to do a special, analysis on that. So there's opportunity for employment if this government prioritizes or continues at least in that state. Why? Because factories at least create opportunities for employment. There was when it came to a poultry farmers conversation, I recall it got to a time that prices for maize in the country were somewhat low, so farmers decided to export. Local poultry farmers had a challenge sourcing feed for birds, and when birds don't get fed, ultimately they will die. So what government has to do, and it's Burkina Faso has literally, what they've done, if they haven't given it a name, is saying that they are doing Burkina Beyond Aid. That's what they're actually doing. This is something that was an aspiration for us that we repeatedly said wasn't a one-time event. That was a process that we all had to take up and champion and see it till the ultimate end. It doesn't take 3 months, 4 months to attain self-sufficiency in tomato production. But what clearly is a threat to us now is the fact that we need tomatoes is the base for a lot of food, for stews. What's going to happen in the next couple of months? As we speak, even with the homegrown tomatoes, like you said, too much water or fiber, those farmers are complaining that even if they had to move it to the farms, it takes 36 hours from the north to get it down south to the farms. Akumadan tomatoes, I don't think is enough to even sustain a region, let alone the entire country. So this is a national security crisis. Burkina Faso didn't end at tomatoes. They've also added eggs to the point where farmers that have supplied to them are not sure they are going to be paid. So it's a problem. What are we going to do in the immediate? It is not Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia standing to pose with a tomato that will cure the problem, like you were trying to suggest. It's not the photo ops or the tokenism as Mr. Bento Lawyer Bento has also put it. At the end of the day, what is the intentionality this government has in at least pursuing planting for food and jobs? Because at the very least, that was an aspiration. At the very least, there was an attempt and there were some gains. So let's not do these petty things when it comes to the future of this country, especially when food security is concerned and when there's a national security threat looming as we speak. Opportunities are not there and they won't be there. Why? When it comes to jobs, when the president himself in parliament less than 3 weeks ago claims there are 1 million jobs created, only for Ghana Statistical Service to come out with a data of less than 300,000 jobs. Those are the realities. The buck stops with him. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not yet president, but when given the opportunity, he will be a fantastic president. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Bento, Dr. Otokono, I'll come to you, and I'm having the guest speak to the issue because you will have to respond, right? Being the one holding the policy of government in this particular area that we're talking about, agriculture. This challenge is coming at a time when, even just about a month ago, when we had some of our women been at the receiving end of this terrorist attack that led to the, unfortunately, we lost some. This conversation came up, but it wasn't sustained because, well, it was an attack. We didn't have any indication that it was going to be a probable ban. Here we are with this. There's an indication of a negotiation so that the Burkinabe government would probably give us some level of consideration. About 80 to 90% of their tomato exports comes to Ghana. We're spending over $400 million on it. Beyond the negotiation, what should be the thinking?
Right, so there's a bigger conversation to be had on that, generally agriculture. I always refer to this work I did about almost 10 years ago. About that time, some people tried to revive the Legon Observer. That paper that, in the 80s was very, important. And they asked me to write something on agriculture and where we were on it. And so I did some research on it. And what I found was very simple but very profound. And it has always stayed with me. I've always mentioned it. The conclusion we came to, looking at where agriculture was in Ghana, was that we were going down on everything. food crops, everything were going down.
This was in the 80s.
This was 10 years thereabouts, 15 years ago. Everything was going down. Food crops, everything was going down. And the main reason was because our agriculture had been left to older men and more or mostly less educated or uneducated persons. And when you reversed it, it showed that agriculture necessarily had to be modernized, and we had to attract more young and educated people into agriculture. This is way back then. And on everything, we didn't do it. All right? So things just kept going down. Now, Burkina Faso's tomato growth, or growth in that, it's not just tomato, but they had an agric renaissance because Thomas Sankara deliberately set up a policy and pushed it. Even after he died, all the people who came after, whatever it is, it's a very stressed area.
True.
They realized, look, there was some sort of, opportunity here. So they continued. Why I'm making this point is, look, what is wrong with planting for food and jobs? I had a big problem with that policy, not because of what it was called, but because of how it was prosecuted. Okay, I'm not sure the agri minister then knew what he was doing, and nobody really took him up on it. But my point is, there is something serious that we have to do in terms of agri policy. All policy is strategy and must be aimed at something specific. You see, when we had rice problems, okay, there was a push, let's deal with rice. Okay, now, we have a history of agric. What do they do from 9 to 5 when they go to work? Here we are discussing these things. But my point is, this is where you go to work and you think about this stuff. And growing tomatoes is not, rocket science. The reason why the Burkinabes have this variety is because their weather is inclement. What we were growing here in those days easily rots. And in fact, one of the problems we had in Ghana, especially with tomatoes, was the marketing, value chain, supply chain.
Yeah.
Okay? People grew tomatoes and it rotted on the farms. So people moved out of it. That was just rational economic behavior. Okay? Now, in moving out of it, I would say the people who spend their whole day at the Ministry of Agri should have appreciated that, look, if we're having supply chain, value chain, cold storage, transportation, and so issues, grow a variety that is a bit more resilient. The Burkinabes, because they were in the desert situation, they went straight for the fleshier one, which doesn't have too much water.
Yeah.
And it's helping them today. My point is, it is not for you or I. It is not for any president to go and stand on a farm. It is not for anybody to do the tokenism that we like to do and leave the problem unsolved. It is for the people who are paid to do it. We have a whole ministry. Look, we have a university here in the University of Ghana with a very serious agri department. We have CSIR. They go to work all day supposedly researching these things. We have all kinds of other institutions. What do? Leadership is about getting people to move and do things. And let me tell you something. We've been there, done that. Okay? There was a military leader in this country with guns and policies, forced everybody to do farming. There were doctors, instead of going to Kolebu to go and do surgery, they were doing poultry farming. All right? There were engineers who had to spend their time building bridges. They say, Operation Feed Yourself, so they come and force you to grow. The thing is not about saying that, you should all try something. If we are going to try something, that's fine. Operation Feed Yourself or whatever it is. If everybody's going to have a backyard farm and have some salads and things, and that is all well and good. Okay? But when you pretend that the way to solve farming, the way to solve food production is for doctors to leave their surgery and come and grow food, and presidents to go and be farmers, you are joking. This tokenism hasn't helped this country. Where have we ended? Do you know the number of, the percentage of people in the world's most productive agri country? 1%. The country in this world that produces more food than any other country, only 1%
of the population.
Of their population are in agri. So it is not about running everybody into agri and done on a farm. Okay? It is about proper policy, staying with it and following. That's why maybe I'll never be a...
Your question?
Yes.
As to implementing it.
So we have to drill down to who has to do the implementation. It goes down to leadership. That's why I said we have a ministry of agriculture, a minister of agri deputy ministers, chief directors, all kinds of experts. They go to work from 9 to 5 p.m. What do they do? We import everything in this country. So my point is, it's not about the president going to stand on a farm. It is about making sure that, look, if we have this issue, there are food crops and cash crops. Okay, our cocoa is going down. I sat here 2 weeks ago and told you that we are going to lose our 3rd position. Okay, because of all that is going on. Food crops, we are importing plantains and banana from Burkina Faso. We are importing tomatoes from, the plantains are coming from Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Tomatoes from Burkina Faso. I mean, rice importing from here and there. And the whole thing is bazaar. And I'm saying when it gets to this point, what you need is coordination at a national level. That happens at leadership level. The politicians, it's not that they should go and farm. They should coordinate, put the policies in place, make sure it is working. Look, we should be able to find 10 acres of land in every region, including Accra, to grow tomatoes. If we have a tomato problem and people have died because of tomatoes, okay, I think there is reason to put some, focus on it. Because we eat a lot of tomatoes.
True.
What stops us? And I'm just sitting in the studio talking, okay? Yeah. If there's a reason why we can't do these things, somebody should tell us. But I am asking myself, we can find 10 acres of land at least. In every region, we have 16 of them. That will make 160 acres of land under cultivation for tomatoes. Okay.
It's not sufficient.
I'm not saying it's sufficient, though. Do you have that now?
No, more than.
Are you sure?
It's the money, capital.
Who told you that?
Oh, capital.
Previously, when we were growing tomatoes, was it capital?
Capital.
If you say so, I hear. Here's the point. There is no reason I can see why we cannot grow tomatoes in Ghana. But the people who have to sit down, deal with it, bring us a solution are the people who have put in leadership. I believe it is doable. And if we can support our farmers, they have little... I know, based on the previous one, that it was about, the post-harvest losses.
Yes.
That discouraged them and they didn't go back.
True.
But that one, the trick they had to do with going into the labs and getting the varieties that are better. And organizing, how much is it for you? I remember there was a time when SSB Bank, they airlifted tomatoes from the north because they had financed the tomato farmers and the tomatoes were rotting. So they took place and airlifted it. And when they brought the tomatoes, the price was too much.
Right.
Okay, that's poor policy. A knee-jerk reaction. How do you use aeroplane to evacuate tomatoes? But my point is, somebody should think through this thing far ahead and solve it. We can solve this.
Well, there's an indication of some thinking, because apart from the PFJ that you talked about, that you say there wasn't really any plan for effective execution, there's a Feed Ghana that this administration is also putting forward, which Dr. Tokunor will speak to. But then again, you also see that beyond this, there is a certain response from the Agric Ministry about the tomato sufficiency and the timelines. Between now and the next 4 years, we could reach tomato sufficiency. That's what we got this week.
We should be able to do that. I mean, if we are serious people, okay, this country, the country that produced Kofi Annan, who ran the UN, if we are serious people, we should be able to produce tomatoes. So look, I'm waiting to hear from Dr. Tokunor. And Planting for Food and Joy, the politicians will give them different names. I don't mind. My issue is, please get down, look at what mistakes were made in the past and avoid those mistakes. But he shouldn't come and just tell us stories. Look, we should make a note of it. We should come back here a year from now. All right? He should tell us that in 2 years. Because tomato season happens every year. And by the way, one of the problems also that they had in the past, based on what I know, was the irrigation problem. Yes. But even with rain-fed tomato planting, we were able to produce enough and they were rotting. So we know the problems. Sitting here, top of my head, I can remember some of these things. So we should have something that says, by this time we'll do that, and by that time we'll do this, and this is how much it will cost us. We still enough money in this country to be able to put a bit of it in dealing with tomatoes. We shouldn't be importing tomatoes.
Mr. Kansi, before you go to the next, a viewer is saying that Kofi, you were here when Bawumia was vice president. You didn't tell him to do.
Who told you I didn't tell him?
Okay.
Was that person there when we discussed tomatoes?
All right.
People just talk because they don't know what they are talking about.
Of course. Supporting him.
What do you mean?
Hold on.
But you've sort of, I don't know whether it was subtly, but you created an impression that Planting for Food and Jobs wasn't successful. It was.
No,
At least we
this,
saw
this
the
is
growth
not
of
this,
maize
this is not
from-
me saying.
No, but I'm saying that if we're going
It's-
to be true to the facts, at least we saw maize grow from 1.6 tons to 3.8 tons. Is fact. 3.5 actually. We also saw 40% enhancement of food security. We saw creation of jobs targeting about 210,000 annually. There was some success.
There was a target.
But then there wasn't a poverty or aspiration like we are seeing now. Changing the name to Feed Ghana is not what will solve the problem. So let's not downplay the successes of the last 8 years. At least let's acknowledge that growth. We came from a negative growth in agric. That that was a legacy for us in 2016. That's what we came to meet. It was 2 point. It grew negatively by 2.5 or so. So at least we made some progress. I just wanted to throw that in, but you can continue.
Okay, no. So Kofi Bento referenced the Greek minister.
No, I'm
then.
not talking. I'm talking about you. You initiated the conversation.
No, I
by
didn't even
creating
talk
a
about
setting.
anything related.
I was critical of it.
It was critical, yes.
I was
Exactly.
critical
So
of it.
it's not.
Yes, I mean,
You
I've created that
implied.
impression which she has corrected.
Absolutely. So it's okay. So while we go on, okay, Professor Jampo and Dr. Tukuno, just hold on a bit for me because quite a number of things you have to respond to, right? Because of where you sit in this matter. For example, this is how this picture looks like now. Because based on what we do know now, this is our reliance on Burkina Faso in terms of our tomato needs. There is the irrigation challenge, there's a processing gap, and there's a call for deliberate policy to deal with this. Where do we go from here?
When was the ban announced?
On the 16th.
16th. Okay. So I've said it here before that usually in my house I go to the market. I'm not one who goes to the market. Where I go to play football. If I don't come here, I go to the Lanquantaman park to play as a way of exercise. And after playing, I would have to drive through the market before I go home. So I wouldn't see why driving through the market, you cannot do a few purchases. You want to go home before you ask people to come and buy. So I buy. So last week, for instance, when I was in here, I saw that tomato prices, had gone up, and they were easily saying, well, it came from Burkina Faso. It came from Burkina Faso, and it's quite expensive. But you see, let me take viewers and listeners through a certain course that briefly we teach at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana called Strategies for African Development, Poly 356. Now, in that course, we tell people the factors that led to the agitation for independence. And we tell our students what Kwame Nkrumah said when he was asked to hasten slowly in his quest for independence. He said, we prefer independence with danger to servitude in tranquility. And so independence was granted. But at the time of independence, there were the nature of the socio-economic and political situation, the condition of the country that was handed to him, necessitated the kinds of strategies for African development that he fashioned out. And beyond him, others also introduced. So you are talking about the introduction of the import substitution industrialization, the structure adjustment program, the Lagos Plan of Action, the application of political conditionality, regional integration, NEPAD, HIPIC. Now there is a call for reparation. You're talking about sustainable development, Millennium Development Goals, now the Sustainable Development Goals. All these are strategies for development that were fashioned out to address the situation and the conditions that Nkrumah inherited or that were handed over to him at the time of independence. But what were the situations? Or what were the conditions? Talking about limited investment in infrastructure. You are talking about overdependence on imports, overdependence on foreign direct overdependence on foreign managerial expertise, integration of the Ghanaian and, if you like, the African economy in the global economy
Right.
on equal terms in a manner that perpetuated our dependency on the West. And guess what? You're also talking about the dominance of subsistence farming. Around the time, between 70 to 80% of our population were into subsistence farming, not mechanized, subsistence farming. And then so we thought that it was not good to have 70 to 80% of your people in subsistence farming. Okay, the argument is that elsewhere, Kofi Bentel was giving some statistics. Elsewhere, if you go to the US, for instance, it's only about 4% of their population that are into farming. They are able to feed themselves and feed some part of the world. And so the argument was that if you want to talk about strategies for African development, then you should implement a strategy that would reduce the number of our population in subsistence farming and then encourage us to go into other areas, within the economy. It is sad to note today that even though we used to have 70 to 80% of our people in subsistence farming, and that we were thinking that it was not good and that we should reduce, it appears that, look, now we have reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced, and today everybody wants to be involved in buying and selling. You are there, and then you see people converging at an area, and then it's like there is something happening. You go there to check, and they are offloading second-hand radio, second-hand TV, second-hand boxer shorts, second-hand toothpicks. These are things that then people want to be going to buy, and then they will be selling. I think that generally as a people, as a country, we have not taken agriculture seriously. Okay? And I believe that good governance will require that prior to getting into the driving seat, you had certain principles, certain policies to shape what you intend doing. It also requires your ability to swiftly adjust, adapt, and respond to unforeseen contingencies.
True.
Now, it has so happened that Burkina Faso, they are not going to allow us to be importing, or they are not going to allow export of tomato from their country to our country. My view is that every misfortune is a blessing in disguise. Let us now sit as a country to fashion out the interventions that can be put in place to encourage more people to go into farming in a manner. You see, you will not appreciate the value of food until you are hungry. Okay? So let us begin to fashion out interventions that would encourage people to go into farming so that we would achieve some level of food security. And I'm not interested in politicizing some of these things. If we had generally been serious as a nation, okay, from the history of the Fourth Republic even up to now, if we've been serious as a nation in thinking about farming, I'm sure we would have easily called the bluff of the Burkinabes. After all, what is the nature of their environment? What's the nature of their land? We have more favorable conditions. We have arable land. We have more fertile land than them. Okay? But it is just that in the midst of abundance, sometimes, I don't want to use that word, in the midst of that abundance, sometimes some category of people will be hungry. Yeah. Let us as a people begin to rethink how we have not been able to take agri seriously and encourage more people to venture into that area so that these things wouldn't come into worry. It shouldn't be an issue. Tomatoes, we used to grow some behind. I mean, sometimes those days, your mother sends you to go and pour, if you like, after cooking, you do the household chores, you wash, you go and pour, empty the dirty water from the sources, you go and pour it at your backyard. the next 1-2 weeks, it is growing. It's germinated into tomatoes, and we used to do that. Now I don't know why these things are not there. We have tiled every part of and paved every part of our environment.
That's another issue.
And some of these things are not happening. So it is worrying. But I'm saying that every misfortune is a blessing in disguise. Let us seize this opportunity and confront the situation headlong, and ensure that we put in place interventions that encourages people to want to go into serious farming, such that, things like, Burkina Faso, with the greatest of respect in international politics, but in terms of what we have and what they have, I think they cannot match us. And so we shouldn't allow this thing to worry us. Let us put in place the right interventions. I'm sure that we'll be fine.
The interventions to respond to it as well.
I beg you, I think this point is important. We tend to be tunnel visioned about immediate problems. Some time back it was rice. The whole country was rice. I can tell you today that onions are coming from Niger.
True.
All right? There's a whole onion value chain which Ghana has lost it. Foreigners come in somewhere on the way to, there's a whole onion market. We import onions. Like I told you, our plantains are coming from Cote d'Ivoire. Generally speaking, we have lost our vegetable markets.
Okay.
All right? My point is that when these things come up, then we talk about them in places like this. But I'm hoping that the politicians and leaders are thinking not only about tomatoes, because we have a tomato problem today.
Also, we are talking about farming, encouraging people to go into general farming.
Okay,
that's what we are saying.
I hear you.
You use
but I'm saying
this
something a bit different. So the bigger issue of farming, like I said, there's a big issue there. It's about young, educated persons. And then there's crop farming. There is, cash crop farming. But there's a certain subsection of farming. So when you talk about these vegetables, they are usually eaten raw or fresh, and the value chain is short. There were times we were importing some of them, all right? So we should be thinking, so now it's not just the whole farming thing, okay? And when you talk about farming, there's food farming, there is, animal farming, and all. So I'm expecting that
wrong to call.
They have solutions in buckets and on shelves, all right? This one has happened, and I'm saying even when it comes to tomatoes, there are other things around that area. Now, but the bigger picture, and I'm still saying the politicians, the experts and those things, let's have a plan. Okay, we should, as a country, have a consensus that in the next 10 years.
But you see, the tokenism that you reference is to the point about Martin Kpebu saying the president taking pictures on the farm, on his farm.
No, let me put it. So, he said the president has a farm. He hasn't seen the president on his farm for some time now. And then he moved to criticize Dr. Bawumia for not having a farm because it's a northern. Hold on.
You didn't say he didn't have.
No.
So, but the issues are played. The issues are played, gentlemen. The issues are played. It's not as though I don't think that you are also not saying that there's leadership. There's a deliberate. I'm coming.
I said I haven't seen. Have you shown me a picture?
No.
I challenge you. Have you shown a picture?
No, gentlemen.
No. What you say you are different. I'm saying has she been able to
let me make my point, then you can come in.
So there's a difference between the leader showing leadership. Gentlemen,
no,
he hasn't even said it. So I'm just asking a question. The leaders showing leadership in getting involved in the process of bringing solutions. So for instance, if you have the president owning a farm, right, that's different from the bit about going there and then pictures.
I am making the point, okay, that in the first place, in solving a problem like farming, the president owning a farm is not part of it.
Okay.
Totally out. It is tokenism. Number two, for you to sit here and say that Dr. Bawumia comes from the north, and so he should have a farm, it's insulting.
No, I said I haven't seen a picture.
What do you mean by you have to see a picture of him on the... What do you mean by that?
To push.
Okay, let me make the point. The fact that you are sitting here and saying, because he comes from the north, you should see him on the farm, is insulting. The man is an economist. All right? Look, if somebody is a doctor, all right, in management, we call something the executive, the quality or the cost of executive time. Okay? What it takes to train somebody at the level of Dr. Bawumia. If he spends an hour on a farm, the cost of it is not the same as a trained farmer, etc. And I told you, we don't have all the time to explain everything, but please let me make the point, because you keep letting me go there. When we did Operation Feed Yourself in this place, in this country, there were doctors who had to be in theaters, okay? And because there were going to be inspections, they were in their houses doing backyard farming. People would die. Is that person's use in a theater or on a farm? For you to stereotype some people or say all kinds of things and say you expect that you have a farm, don't go there. The tokenism I'm talking about is this. It is not about the president having. In fact, our president, the value of his executive time is better used in Jubilee dealing with his ministers to try and solve the problem than he's spending an hour on his farm. And if our president has a farm, he should have people who are farming. Even if he wants to. Jimmy Carter had a peanut farm. He had to give it up to become president because you couldn't do the two. So please, we say things and we just move off, but please, let's be clear. Solving the problem,
let me say that.
Talk about. Let me finish.
They're too big on things.
We cannot make
too much of bigotry.
You are being if somebody wants to encourage farming, that is fine.
It's too much.
If the president wants to go on a farm and meet the farmers there and encourage that is fine. But it is not a requirement that to produce farmers and to produce good agriculture, a president must necessarily have a farm and spend time on it.
Okay. You respond. You come.
I'll come to you.
Your microphone is off. Hold on to that point. It's an important one. So you come to it. Dr. Peter Boama Otokono, thank you. Now, is the director of presidential initiatives in agriculture and agribusiness. Dr. Tokono, what's the thinking? What's the thinking right now to address the problem at hand? Gentlemen, thank you. Dr. Tokono, I want to hear you now.
Well, Alfred.
Thank you.
It's rather unfortunate that I'm not able to join in the studio. And I think the conversation would have been more exciting if I was in the studio. But I mean, I'm going to try as much as possible to make the point very clear to guide the conversation. I think largely the conversation is taking a different turn, which clearly will not provide the kind of solutions and elucidate the kind of maybe suggestions, if you want, that would help us solve this problem. Indeed, let me pick this tomato problem from public policy. And so in Ghana, in the Fourth Republic, we have had two major policy frameworks under which we have operated our agriculture policy over the years. The very first one is called the FASDEP 1, which is the Food and Agriculture Second Program 1. And the second one was the FASDEP 2, which was prepared by the Akufo regime. Now, under these projects, every government that comes in and out have developed their own medium-term development policies. And I recall before we left office in 2016, we were implementing the METASEP, which is the Medium-Term Agriculture Sector Development Program. And we did METASEP 1 under Prof and METASEP 2 before we left. And the results were significant, and it was showing before our friends took over. Then they brought in Planting for Food and Jobs. For the first time, I agree with Kofi Bentil on one thing, that the Planting for Food and Jobs was a total fiasco. It was a total failure and actually drew the country back in terms of our agricultural development policies. And the results are there to show. And that's why poultry farmers had to close down. That's why we're buying maize at 700 Ghana cedi per 50 kilogram bag and all that. I mean, the results is just there for everybody to see. And the tomato case is part of the failure of government investment over the period, or government implementation failure in terms of our medium-term agriculture policy frameworks. You would recall that before we left office in 2016, we had been working on the Pualugu multi-purpose dam and the Pualugu tomato factory, which we didn't complete before we left. And most of these agreements had been done and even construction of the Tamni Dam and all those things, contracts have been given. Our friends came 8 years and no further action was taken on them. The unfortunate one that, Akosua Menu and Kofi Bento would barely run away from, wouldn't want to mention. I'm surprised we are talking about tomato and they are throwing all the accusations and they wouldn't talk about the Kwalugu fiasco led by Dr. Bawumia and his people paying $12 million for no work done and so on and so forth. I'm surprised they are not talking about that. But this is what has culminated into the problem that we have had to deal with. So let's quickly zoom into tomatoes. And so the problem of tomato is that Ghana consumes a lot of tomato because of our food system structure. In Ghana, every single Ghanaian food has tomato. The only Ghanaian food you don't get tomato is morning tea and cocoa porridge. But even that one, when you decide to fry egg, we put tomato in there. And so we are consuming over 1 million metric tons of tomato. That means that we will need roughly, if we are even growing the old variety, which was yielding about 5.8 metric tons per hectare, we will need about 203,000 hectares to grow our tomato. But in this era of modern technology and productivity enhancements and technical efficiency enhancements, we don't have to be producing 5.8 metric tons per hectare. And so work has been done. The failure of the Kwalugu factory, which was built in 1960 to uptake the tomatoes that were being grown in Avrongo, that caused a lot of people to lose their money. Some committed suicide because they were growing the tomatoes and nobody was buying. The factories were down. And so most of them moved away from the production. But when Sankara decided to do the irrigation systems, they took the variety from Ghana and grew the variety. And because Ghanaians were already used to the taste of the Navrongo tomato, then it meant that the Ghanaians would go more after the Navrongo tomato than what they consume here. And so what has happened over the period is that in Ghana, we are growing some portions of the Navrongo, but also growing some portions of the traditional, large ball tomato that is, having a lot of moisture, a lot of water in there, and so on and so forth. So that market is blended. Now, the challenge is that all this production has been largely rain-fed. So we produce only between the seasons of June and November. So from June to November or even October, we grow the tomato, and you would realize that when we have done well in the production of the tomato, you would see that there would be tomato glut on the market. And year in, year out, you hear tomato glut. In fact, the only time that you didn't hear tomato glut was when they were implementing the planting for food and jobs, and because they were not providing motivation for the farmers to come. 2024, the tomato we brought from Burkina Faso to supplement our production was almost between 98 to 99% of the total volumes of tomatoes that we consume. But last year, it came down to about 75%. That meant that we were growing a lot. I know several, projects that have been undertaken at various irrigation sites that have been developed by the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority to ramp up the production. And so the production in season from rain-fed agriculture went up last year. And same as those
you seem to understand the problem. I want the solution to.
And you would notice, for example, that most of these productions that are done in the irrigation site are produced for export purposes. And so whilst we import a lot of tomatoes, we also export a lot of tomatoes. But the challenge really happens in our tomato market between December and May. And that is the current crisis that we are in. Because between December and May, when we are not producing rain-fed tomatoes, where we are producing only limited portions of irrigated tomatoes, we have had to import about 75% of our fresh tomatoes from Burkina Faso. And that is what has brought us to this point. Now, the way forward. So in fact, as if the angels were talking to us. The past few months, we've been having a lot of discussions on the background from government policy standpoint on how to deal with the issues of tomato once and for all. Not only the processing, which usually comes when we have excess production within June and November, but most importantly, how to maintain a smooth supply chain in the dry season. And I happen to be on the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority board. And just last 3 weeks, I raised that point very strongly, and the board directed the scheme or the authority to develop a program, and we gave them 1 month to bring that program for consideration. Now, what we were looking at is short-term solutions, immediately ramp up the production of tomato in the dry season. And so we're looking at existing schemes that were growing other crops like rice and maize in the dry season, moving them back to produce vegetables. And so if you look at our Feed Ghana policy, under the policy, we are targeting 6 main staples. And those 6 main staples, we have 3 vegetables, and we have about 3 grains, so rice, maize, soya bean. Then we have tomato, onion, and pepper. And I heard Kofi Benton talk about we looking at onions and all that. These 4 food crops, even though they are not the only food crops that we consume in Ghana, they are the flagship, focus for production ramp up under the Feed Ghana program. And so what we did, or what we directed the Ghana Irrigation Authority to do, is to look at the existing schemes available and where we can quickly, as a matter of urgency, get roughly about 70,000 hectares in total to be able to produce tomatoes that we need. If you look at the 1.18 metric tons that we consume every year, if we are using the old variety, which yields about 5.8 metric tons per hectare, we'll be needing about 204,000 hectares. But in the modern technology, in the modern application of agricultural technology, where we are yielding 20 metric tons per hectare. In fact, the CRI, Pabna, and the CRI Copia. The CRI Pabna was developed in conjunction with some Dutch people. We have the CRI Copia, which is also developed with the help of the Koreans. And they are all yielding beyond 20 metric tons per hectare. And so if we are growing that variety, which we have started working on, in fact, just last week, we're having a conversation of bringing all the stakeholders together, how to multiply the CRI Copia and the CRI Pabna, so that we'll be able to provide enough planting material, seeds, for even smallholder farmers to grow the crop. And so if we are able to do that, and we are yielding about 20 metric tons, let's even assume 15 metric tons per hectare, it means that we would require around 60,000 to 70,000 hectares to be able to grow all the tomato that we need, both from dry season and rainy season. And so the schemes, Alfred, if you allow me, the schemes that we are looking at in the short term to help solve this problem. One, the Wager tuber irrigation area. The systems have been developed already. It's about 200 hectares of land. Okay. That 200 hectares of land, just recently, just yesterday, the CEO was telling me that when they checked, about 20 hectares is highly acidic, and they would have to treat that and make that available only for tomato production. There is the Asama Reservoir that also has about 20 hectares. There is the Towenya area that also requires some little investment to clear the area to deal with the short-term production of tomato. Indeed, the thing about tomatoes' maturity period is that it yields within a short period. There are yields that are yielding within 2 months to 3 months, and they would yield over a period. Some would yield even over a period of 1 year, and so on and so forth. And so, if we are able to bring these schemes under immediate irrigation, we would be able to solve the problem in the short term. But we don't need short-term solutions. We need long-term solutions. Right. And so we have asked them to look at the VIA area. The right bank of the VIA area is a TOG area, and the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority is looking at quickly moving in to develop some refurbishment to make sure that we are able to grow tomato also in that stretch. Then there is Echi Amanfo that we have developed a central pivot system, almost completed, and that will do about 250 hectares. And so we are looking at discussing. In fact, the contractors on site are having some challenges with liquidity, particularly because of the appreciation of the city. There has been that indication given already.
of the government's intention to engage the Burkinabe authorities to, as it were, review this decision and the ban on exports because of how much we rely on Burkina Faso tomatoes. About 80% of our tomato needs come from there. It could be more, as a matter of fact. If this engagement is not fruitful, and that's for the lack of a better expression, or just for the analysis, if they still hold on to their position and say intervention that government has to fill this 75% reliance on tomatoes imported from Burkina Faso?
Okay, so Alfred, for starters, I have mentioned some of the immediate moves that government is undertaking to bring some of the irrigation sites or schemes on board production of tomato. And even that one, when you do that, you are not going to get the immediate results. And so it is paramount that we are able to engage our neighbors, the Burkinabes, in a very constructive diplomatic engagement to let them reconsider this particular decision. I mean, international trade is very crucial. The Burkina Faso, for so many things, they use our borders. They actually depend on us for so much of our commodities to help their factories also run. And so I think it would be very important to let them get reawakened to the need for that kind of bilateral diplomatic cooperation to help us in this short period. I know the reason why they have had to take that decision is because they have set up a number of factories that are looking at processing their tomato and adding value so that they can increase their income or their revenues and forex gains from the tomato that they produce. And so it would be fair to make those decisions. And we are also considering a number of food crop or agro commodities that we make similar decisions. And so it makes sense to engage them to see how in the immediate short term we are able to deal with this. But this is not something that we should come back to next year. This is not something that we should discuss again in this country. This is a great opportunity. And I believe the blessing in disguise for the decision that the Burkinabes have taken. I did my PhD research or thesis in tomato, and I was looking at the competitiveness of tomato production in Ghana and its technical efficiency compared to the global world. And you would see that Ghana holds a huge competitive potential. And if we are able to tap into that potential, it positions us very well to not only produce enough for our country, but to add value and to be able to gain much forex from our production. And so I believe that this opportunity is very key. And the biggest of it, which is a long-term project that we are looking at, is the Afram Plains Belt, the Atonsu Belt. There is this project that we are developing to cover about 1,500 to 2,000 hectares of irrigated land. Okay. Now, if we are able to do this project and we are able to get it dedicated for tomato production, and so there are a few commercial tomato production companies in Ghana now, and as a few months ago, they have been engaged to ramp up their production. In fact, there's one company called Maflex that exports a lot of vegetables that we are running a project with in this space as well. You know of FarmMate, you know of GB.
You mentioned the tuber.
One of the biggest suppliers of tomato, and they import a lot. And so they are.
Yeah, you mentioned the tuber. You mentioned the tuber irrigation area. There's some information we get about some 200 hectares of tomato farming that's already taking place there. Are you aware of this? And have you engaged these tomato farmers there in that tuber area?
Okay, so Senna, I mentioned the 200 hectares because that is the exact irrigated area, but all is not being used now. And some other crops were also being grown. Some grow lettuce, some grow cabbage, and so on and so forth. But the idea is to get that place to produce only tomatoes. And I said that, as of yesterday, the CEO of the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority was briefing me that about 20 hectares of that is having high acidic levels.
I get that point. I was asking
treatment so that can also come on board for tomato production. And so beyond this immediate step of engaging the Burkinabes, it is important that we ramp up all the available irrigation sites in immediate environs to be able to produce the tomato that we need, or to augment the demand of tomato that we need in this country. Whilst we look at the other bigger irrigation schemes like the Tamni and the Tono and the Pualugu Dam being, fast-tracked to be completed, so that some significant portions can be allocated for vegetable production. You would see that last year there were huge volumes of production in rice, for example, and maize, and the rice farmers and the maize farmers have been complaining. In fact, just last 3 days, I've had to meet all the various associations in the rice production regime, the Rice Millers and Producers Association, to be discussing sustainable ways of continuing the production so that the immediate shock of lack of offtake wouldn't prevent them from continuing the productions this year. And
Thank
you
you.
have heard some of them complain about how they still have paddy on the shelves. And they still have paddy on the shelf, again, because of government policy, how we intend to control and grow what we eat and reduce the importation. And so previous times, even though the farmers would grow somewhat an amount of rice, they export the paddy to other neighboring countries. Then we would in turn import, rice from Vietnam, from Thailand, from India,
What I
from
wanted
China,
to find
and
out,
so on and so forth.
right? What I wanted to find out is this Tuba area, where you have farmers already engaged in about 200 hectares of tomato farming. Has there been any direct, and the emphasis on the direct engagement with these farmers, so as to also have some level of accommodation for instance, your suggestion of this Kwabena variety that you have developed, to also have them cultivate that as a deliberate policy by government, leveraging the already existing tomato farms at 200 hectares at least in the Tuba area as we speak?
In fact, the engagement has been continuous, and that's why I'm able to tell you that they are having challenges with about 20 hectares of that 200 hectares area when it comes to the EC contents and the acidity contents of the land. And the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority is working at, working on neutralizing the soil so that they will be able to expand the production of the varieties. Remember that almost all the producers on all these irrigation areas existing, some were producing for export. And so there are various varieties that they produce for export. Some of them produce the VST 101, some of them produce the Cobra 34, some produce the Platinum, some produce the Sultan, there is the Tandy, there is the Pectomec, which is largely produced in some of the areas. But everybody produces for a specific purpose, you understand? Now, the point is that the seeds that have been developed by CRI, the CRI Kwabena and the CRI Kopia, must be multiplied. In fact, the thing about agriculture is that you could develop the variety, but if you don't do the seed multiplication, you don't commercialize the seed multiplication, the farmers will not find your seed on the market. And remember, there are other input dealers that are bringing various seeds onto the market, and some bring the seeds from Holland, some bring it from Europe, some bring it from America, and all these varieties that I mentioned, the VST 101, the Cobra 34, the Platinum, the Sultan, the Tandy, and all those varieties are on the market, and people buy the seeds sometimes even without knowing the kind of output. But for the commercial farmers that export these tomatoes, who are producing according to specification, most of them don't really care about this. And so it is important that government provides that needed support to be able to produce enough of the Kwabena, CRI Kwabena, and the CRI Kopia, so that all the farmers in the country would be able to be producing at that level of optimal productivity and achieve that yield volumes, and also the preferential, quality of the tomato that is produced. And these are areas that government efforts is being focused on even before this Burkinabe announcement was done.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Bento, so, and he complements the point that both Akosua and then also Prof. Jampo made earlier about this being seen as a blessing in disguise of a sort. But it all depends on how we respond to this with policy, which is
so
really
you see,
important.
I'm hearing my brother Tokuno, and I'm hearing good things. But you see, we do have an emergency. Human beings have died over tomatoes. All right? We have known already that we are not doing well in this tomato thing. Okay. And last week, I was in a tomato farm at Tuba, where he's talking about. I'm aware there is about 200 hectares there. And those were previously irrigated lands.
Okay.
And they are already being used for vegetable farming, especially tomatoes in that area. Now, in my mind, and I was waiting for him to say it, but he never said it. So I'm really going to push and see whether he is actually going to say so or if they are doing so. I think where we have a crisis, where human beings have died, and we have just a short distance from here, 200 hectares, which can all be put to tomato production, where he says they have varieties like Kwabna in the shelves and with research people and that kind of thing, okay? And he said a lot about the efforts that are being made. I would have loved to hear him say, we have engaged or we are going to engage them next week. Tomatoes takes 3 to 4 months to yield, all right? We don't need to be talking to the Burkinabes. 3 to 4 months out of 12 months with irrigation means you can go 3 or 4 times, okay? So I want to hear if somebody has gone and they are talking to the tomato farmers here at Tuba and whether they can commit the 200 hectares there to tomatoes. We are not having problems with, garden eggs and whatever it is. Tomato is, the crisis today. Has somebody done that? If not, I'm asking him if he can commit to use his offices to make sure that Monday people go there and start working with the people there so that 3 months from now, we'll have tomatoes from Tuba.
That's a direct question to you, Dr. Tokuno.
Alfred, I think it's a very important point, but as I intimated earlier, the engagement has been ongoing even before the announcement, as if we knew that the announcement was going to come. After the incident happened, I'm able to give you all this roadmap, even before the announcement 3-4 days ago. And so it's important that we move ahead and engage them further. And certainly I'm going to be there next week with the irrigation team, the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority team, to engage them. As I said, most of them are already growing other crops, and some parts of the land are having challenges, and we have had to work on them. But even if we are able to ramp up Tuba for tomato production, that will come up in about 3 months. And so that means that you cannot ignore the importance of engaging the Burkinabes in trying to find some amicable, immediate, short-term solution to this importation of tomato. We have to do that. It's a necessity. Then whilst we do that, we can now be doing all these ramp-ups in the various irrigations, including Ashaiman, where the Ashaiman reservoir can cover between 20 to 30 hectares of production. But all these productions, even if they come on stream, will not be enough to meet the total demand. As I said, we need about 70,000 hectares of production up peak. That is in the dry season, to be able to meet the demand. That is if we are growing the high yielding productive tomato variety that gives you about 20 metric tons per hectare. But if we are doing the old stuff, then we need about over 200,000 hectares to do that, which we may not have, and we may not strategically, or it may not be strategically advisable to commit all to tomato production. And so these are things that we are going to work on immediately. And as I said yesterday in the afternoon, I was engaging the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority on how we can quickly move in, because they manage the schemes. And those farmers
you made that point. I think you made that point earlier.
Are working as either in growers or commercial farmers.
Thank you.
That are taking services.
You made the point. You mentioned the Ashaiman Dowenya as well. Akosua, yes. Hold on for me. Okay. Yes.
So I've listened to him, and I think he spent more time talking about the problems than the solutions, at least for me. And it's a problem for me because, you see, again, this government is not new. They've been in government before. In fact, 80% of them were in government the last time, from 2012 to 2016. They were all in there. So some of these problems have existed. They are well aware. For me, for a government that places a manifesto and says, I'm going to do this, and this flagship policy has still not taken shape, okay, there's no evidence of its successes anywhere, which has impacted on the lives of young people or created job opportunities for them in the tens of thousands. I shudder to think that indeed the 86 pages, as I've seen on the Feed Ghana project, will take off. There is something that we also have to look at. Burkina Faso is a landlocked country. They take tomato paste from us. We import tomato from them. They import tomato paste from us. If it is possible, let's activate.
Clearly, there are things that are being done. Problem. And my view is that, I mean, judging by 1 year track record of this government, there is every indication, it is decidedly clear that this is a very serious government. And we are not mincing words about some of these things. President Mahama is only interested in leaving a positive legacy for Ghana. And so this is not going to be the politics of just ticking the box, the maye, which does not translate tangibly into achievements that people can relate to. There's a problem, and minister, official of government has come in to outline the kinds of engagement interventions that are being fashioned out to address it. Look, I have confidence that we'll be able to weather the storm. And then also the view about still engaging with Burkinabes. I'm just wondering, and Kofi Bento tells me that in about 3 months, if you grow tomato, it will be able to
3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months, you'll be able to harvest it and all
Yes.
that. So I think that rather than let us not place too much emphasis on this kind of engagement, because you want us to suffer a little so that out of the suffering we learn how to be dependent, on ourselves when it comes to some of these things. So yes, if it's an initiative that let us engage, well, you may want to engage, but on a certain limited scale, so that we'll not feel the impact too much. But let that engagement not take our mind off the need for us to be more serious about ensuring that we surmount this problem, by ourselves. Because, like I've said, Burkinabes cannot match us when it comes to the blessings, natural resource
agricultural potential
God has given us. I mean, we are more blessed than them, and so we should be able to be rather the ones who will be sending our tomatoes to them, and not vice versa. So, Otokono, I have a lot of confidence in what you said, and I believe that, like I said, this is a very serious government, and then we would put our foot on the pedal as far as addressing this issue, and then other general issues of farming. We address all of them, because clearly, let us not tickle ourselves and laugh. If we had done things well, okay, I don't want to be mentioning some of these interventions, but generally, if we had done things well, you're talking about 1D, 1F. You're talking about people are sending us messages about interventions that are claimed to have been implemented that have been shut down, that haven't worked, and all that. So in governance of a developing country like us, there should be no room for propaganda, because then it tells us that we are not serious. Okay, there should be no room for that kind of politicking that ticks the box. I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. Meanwhile, that is just propagandistic, achievements. The achievements that are not that tangible. If we had done things well as a people, I'm not sure we'll be here today still talking about the need for us to take farming serious. And so it is time, I still insist, that every misfortune is a blessing in disguise. This is about time. This is the time that as a people we all have to rally behind, support the government to ensure that we fashion out sustained interventions that will address our deficits in farming.
Oh, thank you. But allow me to people, let's finally on this so that we round up and
Yes,
go
okay.
quickly.
Yeah, I support, so basically we are all saying the same thing. Yeah, we are all saying the same thing. Even though we are using different words and even though it appears at certain points that we are disagreeing, but essentially we are saying the same thing. And I'll come back to my strongest point today that for me, I need a lot of signaling, okay, from those that have more power, from those that are big farmers and are big people in our society. And I repeat the call that the president's handlers should show us more pictures and documentaries of the president on his farm. Menta Akando, Minister for Agric, I know he's a big rice farmer, right? I know Harun Edrusu, Kalisu's mama, a lot of people in this current administration, I know they are farmers. So it's very important because, you see, at the end of it, you see, when, and myself, okay, I'm also doing piggery. Myself and Kwesi Jane. Kwesi,
the banana is supplying to us.
Yeah,
after Sunday football.
Yeah, I get that from Abu Blushi. But I'm into piggery, and we are doing this fish farming as well, right? So at least I'm also doing something little in my corner. But as we're saying, if we're able to get more of our youth, yes, we are aware capital is a problem. So the point we are making is that you will not, the youth will not go barehanded. No, the youth will not go barehanded. No, government would support. Because
The president should be a farmer.
But you see,
The president should be a farmer.
but you see,
Presidents visit factories, they visit farms.
I was trying to make this point earlier. Leadership is also about the optics. You see, the kinds of things, the kinds of things that you do, that people see, also tends to shape what they do. And so what Martin is saying is that if you have these top echelons or top statesmen in society, including the president, being also seen as a farmer, it helps in eroding the derogatory misconceptions about farming as being for a certain category of poor people, so that it encourages others to want to also go to do so. And so well, there are differences in the different opinion. But my point is that my point is the differences. No, Akosua, let me finish. Listen, there may be differences in opinion, but I do not want a situation where somebody sounds categorical that it has no role and it cannot influence anybody.
But that is what you are insisting.
No, I'm saying
that somebody standing on a farm gives inspiration to young people.
So why did somebody else stand on the farm?
So we should all be standing on farms. Somebody acquiring a private jet gives us inspiration to also acquire one.
This is the logic that sent you to opposition.
Hold on.
This is the logic. This is the kind of arrogant logic that sent you to opposition.
He said he doesn't want to get into setting phrases and names that we use in the previous government. 1D, 1F. There's a document by the Ministry of Trade. In its 170,000 jobs created by 1D, 1F, 216 factories
that's
exist.
A whole conversation
it is not propaganda. No, I'm saying that it is not propaganda. So he can continue to say that it was the sort of arrogance that got us out of power. It's the sort of arrogance that lets you sit here as an operative of oral and have no evidence of the people that you claim looted in bounds and in whatever truck full of money that you insisted. That you said
the people in court, what are they doing?
Of oral can fix roads and schools. You said that was the arrogance you applied to it. So let's not dismiss. No, what we are saying is not a picture of the president holding a tomato would cure the agric issue we have. It's not a picture on a farm
that
will
boost cure. It's
tomato
about influence.
production.
When we talk about leadership, what is our understanding of
the
leadership? It's about influence.
The leadership
today
is knowing that you've been a president before. It's knowing that the variety of tomato that we produce
the most important issue.
So when you come into power, find a variance for it that will be sustainable.
We have Kabna.
What the way forward. Thank you, lady and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this. The most important issue now is the thinking on how to address this gap that we are talking about, regardless of whatever and how you go about it. The most important conversation now is what we have before us. how to fill this gap if Burkina Faso decides to go on with this. Dr. Togono, I want you to round it up for me in 3 minutes because you've touched on a number of things going forward, what is going to be done going forward. But then also, immediately, immediately, beyond the Ashaman, Dawenya, Tuba, I want to know if there has been specific timelines to the interventions, taking into consideration how immediate this challenge is, the urgency of it that we're having to deal with now. In 3 minutes, very quickly.
Well, Alfred, I think that my absence from the studio is not allowing me to take a bite on some of the important things that are also coming up. And I've seen the argument about the suggestion by lawyer Martin Kpebu. I think it is very important that we appreciate that in an era where the average age of farmers in Ghana is between 50 to 55 years, it is very important that we set up, agro role models that young people will be inspired to follow, to inspire them to go into agriculture. And so I think it's not out of place at all. All of us are farmers. In fact, from the day I left University of Ghana, I've been a farmer. And every single livestock you can think of. And I do crops. In fact, almost 90% of the cabinet ministers are farmers. Party chairman, farmer, president, farmer. So it's very important that at certain points also we show to the young people that you can do any other thing and still become a farmer. You can be a Prof. Jampo and still become a farmer. I'm happy Martin Kpebu is a farmer. And so it is not out of place if he demands that maybe former Vice President Bawumia should also be doing some farming or let people know if indeed he's doing some farming. Okay. And so that point aside. But again, we are at this point mainly because of policy failure in the past. And I have made this point time with that number that look, we had a very important opportunity and we missed that opportunity. You recall in 2024, we have had to spend $500 million to import rice, maize, and other food commodities to augment the dry store. So we said we were dealing with dry store and we were going to help the farmers, empower the farmers. And we spent $500 million that we got from the World Bank on the so-called dry spell, which $500 million could have solved our irrigation problem once and for all. In fact, averagely, how much does it cost to irrigate 1 hectare of land or build an infrastructure that can irrigate 1 hectare of land? Between $15,000 to about $25,000, you would be able to irrigate 1 hectare of land. And so if we're using this $500 million on irrigating or developing the irrigation facilities that were ongoing, we wouldn't have been in this mess and we wouldn't have been talking about this Burkinabe tomato ban. But our friends in MPP, Akosua Menu and his people, and Kofi Bentos Bawumia and his people, missed that opportunity, wasted the money on the importation of grains and rice, which never came anyways. And you've seen the figures, you've seen the audit report. And I believe that those people who committed that heinous crime against the state, whilst we are looking at the way forward, we must also be looking at bringing them to book and making sure that the law deals with them mercilessly. Because all those monies have been stolen, they've been eaten away, and we have missed an opportunity. And the opportunity cost is what we are facing now and we have had to deal with. As we speak, most of the ongoing irrigation facilities, they have run out of funding and we are not able to raise the funding for them. One, because of the fiscal rigidities that we are going through. And two, also because some
what
of
I wanted to find out, because I gave you limited time.
And so, Alfred, finally.
No, on the final point, what I just want to find out, a year from now, what would be our tomato sufficiency situation a year from now?
And so if all our plans are able to go through this year, because we are going to enter into the rainy season in about 2 or 3 months. And so you would see that we'll come back to this conversation and most tomato farmers will be producing in excess and we would have to be doing interventions. And if you recall, last year I've had to intervene on behalf of the president to get the schools in the Ashanti region to offtake the tomatoes that were produced in excess in the Ashanti region for their consumption. And so when the rain starts, you will see that now we'll come to another level of the problem. And so the problems that we are dealing with are not just the supply chain or the post-production market issues, but also pre-production and production issues. And so when we come into the next season, you see that we'll be talking about now market, where to find market for tomato. Processing factories are not there. Then again, we come to Kwalugu, where Akosua Menu and Kofi Bento Baumia, committed this nation $12 million with no work shown. And so we will be going around in circles if we do not, deal with the issues in an integrated manner.
Dr.
And so
Peter
to deal with this,
Otokono.
President Mohammed's administration is not only looking at bringing all these irrigation schemes so that we can produce irrigated tomato or off-season tomato, but most importantly, how to build a sustainable market, sustainable agro-industries that can offtake the tomatoes when we produce excess, to be able to have a smooth supply chain for the country so that we don't lose the forex of over 400 million to 500 million that we lose every year.
Dr. Peter Boamo Otokono, thank you, is in charge of the presidential initiatives on agriculture and agribusiness. Quite a number of your messages.
And PhD in tomatoes, yes.
PhD in tomatoes?
Yes.
I mean, no, I think his PhD is not in tomatoes.
Yeah, he says competitiveness.
He should use it to make sure you solve the tomato problem 1 year from now.
Doc, your PhD is in what?
Tomatoes.
Is in tomato.
So I studied technical efficiency and competitiveness of Ghanaian tomato production.
Yes.
Thank you.
So he should be able to make sure that we will be self-sufficient in tomatoes by next year.
Yes.
Okay. That's a target to you. Bibi from Oyarifa says.
We are running out of tomatoes.
Bibi from Oyarifa says, during Operation Feed Yourself, nobody was forced to got involved because of the enthusiasm led by the Champon leadership. That is why leadership is key.
Leadership is key.
We were happy.
Say you are alive. Operation Feed Yourself.
We were happy as students.
There were inspections.
Then to do backyard farm. And on Saturdays, go to farms in a happy mood. There was no force applied, you say. Thank you. This one here also says, dear Alhaji Okanse, you look, okay, yes. I think it's commending the outfit of Lawyer Martin Kpebu as well. Baraka de Sanla to everybody. Thanks for redirecting the conversation to the way forward for Ghana. Discussing the reasons for the ban is an act of desperation. We in Ghana cannot revoke the ban, just as Burkina Faso cannot revoke the land transportation or the land transport of some goods by Ghana. From that, there could be security reasons that we could also lead to the ban. You say you didn't add your name or where you're sending us the message from, but thank you. Samuel Ablodepe sends us a message from Dan Suman, says, good morning. Please find out from Kofi Bento, give us a single name of a doctor who was asked to farm and that robbed him or the country of his or her service. Tell him I say his response is only because he says he wants to counter Lawyer Martin Kpebu and nothing else. This one here also says, I just got an information that when I was in sixth form at Ghana National College, Kofi Bento was also in the...
Yes, I went to Ghana National College. In Krumer's old school.
So this is from Papa Bisu from Spintex. I get all
he
sorts
must
of
have been my
messages.
junior, you should respect.
This one here also, Alfred, listening to Tokono, it says, raises some concerns. Ghana is an expert in not just the thinking, a lot more talking. Everything he said had too much of engagement. They are the board. They have the power. They should give directives and act. Act. Give people power. If they are afraid to act and always talking round the table, take the power and act. That's the message to Dr. Otokono. This is from Lawyer Mercy Owusu. Thank you very much for your message this morning. Master Planner Junior Policy Analyst Ken Tampo says it takes 3 to 4 months to plant and harvest. As a nation, we should not be competing with a country that is mostly desert, whereas we have much better soil for cultivating tomatoes. It is worrying. Let's shift from talking and get into action, you say. Thank you very much for your message this morning. Eddie as well going on that same path about we taking action now. Quite a number of your messages coming through. I'll read them as we go on. But as always, you can share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us on Facebook. I'll come to quite a number of the messages as well that we have gotten from there here on Key Point. We're live on the Voice of London Radio in the heart of the city of London and the Voice of London Television as well this morning. And we're going to get into our next conversation. But before that, whether you are aiming for a specialized MBA focused in marketing, communication, operations and supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship in innovation, or business intelligence or analytics, or you want to advance through a dual MBA or Chartered Manager MBA, University of the Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision and your dream. And if your next step is an MSc in International Relations, Communication and International Marketing, International Law, Security and Diplomacy, Accounting and Finance, or Human Resource Management, an LLM in International Law, Security and Diplomacy, or an MA in Biblical Studies and Practical Theology, the pathway is open. April admissions open now. Apply today, because at the University of the Gold Coast, we make it practical, flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment. Study around your work schedule and life. Choose a route that fits your background, and convenient installment payments are there for you as well. Your dream deserves structure, and this is where the University of the Gold Coast comes in. Take these two numbers and call them and tell them that we told you that there's a special package for you, the viewers of the Key Point. 054 288 9045, 054 288 9045, or 0263 888 555, 0263 888 555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. And we brought you a package to Dubai last year, and lots of you enjoyed that period with the exclusive packages for you. This time, the Ocean Bells Travels and Tours is putting together an 11-day package to China. And this is from April 22nd to the 2nd of May. 11 days package to China. You would have accommodation with daily meals, and also created and packaged specifically and exclusively to meet your travel needs. Escorted tour with English-speaking guides and all other amenities to make your stay within this period in China a lot more engaging and also exploratory. Now, April 22nd to the 2nd of May, 11 days with Ocean Bells Travels and Tours. You can call them on this number for some more updates, 0242 037 280. 0242 037 280. And the package starts from $1,555. And I'll tell you, today, a number of you sent us messages when we advertised that the Minister in charge of communications is going to be joining us for this conversation about a SIM card registration. And the underlying concern is about why another SIM card registration? After just what? Less than 3 years of going through the stress of queuing, going to offices, sometimes having to wait for days. People had to queue from dawn in those days. We had to be there speaking to them. Why do we have to go on this path again? Within the week, the Director General of the National Communications Authority also engaged stakeholders and gave some pointers of what has led to this path. I want us to take a listen briefly to the Director General of the National Communications Authority, and I would welcome the Minister joining us in the studio right now. But take a look.
And so about 81% had a facial match But next slide. When it came to the fingerprint, it was 0. Fundamentally, the NIA fingerprints were taken with contact, whereas what we did with the SIM, with the mobile registration the last time, was contactless. And fundamentally, it would create a challenge as far as matching the two fingerprints are concerned.
The Minister in charge of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations of the Republic of Ghana, Member of Parliament for the Ningo Pram constituency, Samuel Nate George, is joining us in the studio. Good morning to you, Honourable. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Awiche. Good morning to our viewers and to my co-panelists. It's a pleasure. Ramadan Kareem to everyone and to our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Why do we have to go through this SIM registration again? Why do you want to put us through this stress again?
First and foremost, I would say that I can appreciate the apprehension in the public, especially when you remember what we went through between 2021 and 2023. But I would start by saying that the queues you saw, the difficulties you had in 2021 to 2023 will never happen under this new registration.
It will never happen?
Never happen. It's simply going to be because this process is going to be driven by technology. It's going to be driven by the comfort of the consumer and the convenience that we can offer to the consumer. It's not going to be driven by procurement. That I must state emphatically. If you remember, in September 2021, Professor Ken Atefa issued a statement, a 3-pager, effectively saying that that registration process could not be authenticated against the NIA's database. Now, let's be clear. And I've seen a 2-pager issued by my predecessor, the Honorable Esla Owusu-Ekufo, where she tries to challenge the explanation that was made by His Excellency President Mahama in Sunyani during the reset tour. Let's be very clear. She admits in her statement that there were weaknesses in the system that she developed.
Okay, yes, so that's the first point. The 2022-2023 SIM registration was introduced to fix the weak and unreliable 2010-2011 system by linking SIM cards to the Ghana card. The process worked in 2 phases or stages, was limited because full biometric verification could not be completed due to lack of NIA integration.
So the minister admits that there was no biometric authentication. In her own statement, this is not Sam George. So for those who say that, why do you want to do this? The minister who oversaw the process has just answered the question. Esla Owusu-Ekufo herself has admitted that the process she carried out did not carry out full biometric verification. If she herself, I mean, if the tilapia comes from the bottom of the sea to tell you that the crocodile is sick, you better believe, because they all live on the bottom of the river. So listen, what we're doing today is to cure the failings in the system that was attempted to be done. And why could there be no NIA integration? That's the question we should ask ourselves. Why did Ghanaians queue for 2 years and still we're told that there was no full biometric verification? Simply because somebody wanted to do procurement. It's about procurement.
Is that the only...
The NIA has a system that allows for you to integrate directly with them. So you use their system and you pay for their system. The minister at the time decided that she had a private company that will do the authentication. And the NIA said, we will not do that connection.
Is that what you were told?
It's not what I am told. I have inherited the ministry. That is the reason why the NCA could not. That's why the system that was run by Kelny GVG could not integrate with the NIA. It's as simple, let's call a spade a spade. Since the minister wants to come out and challenge the facts, let's put all the facts out.
That there was a company?
Kelny GVG, she contracted Kelny GVG to run the SIM registration. they put out that app available on Android, and which meant that every iOS phone could not even use the app. And there was an impasse between her and Kelly GVG on one side and the NIA led by Kenatifa on the other side. And that's why you couldn't have this integration done. So when the minister tells you that she couldn't have biometric integration done, she should have told us the reason why that couldn't have been done. Simply because somebody wanted to do procurement.
Okay. Causing financial loss.
Okay, and that's why Ghanaians were made to queue for 2 years to carry out, for want of a better phrase. And you know, we struggle, but because I believe, and I agree with her on one thing, governance is a continuum. We've looked at it. Look, the people at the NCA, and Alfred, you were at the meeting at the NCA. The NCA is the regulator. In 2021 to 2023, you were in this space. Did the NCA ever meet with the media like we did last week, or this week, on Tuesday this week? No. The technocrats at the NCA have not changed. In fact, the person who we appointed as Director General was Head of Engineering, Director Engineering under Esla Usu. They were sidestepped because they raised critical issues about the processes that were being undertaken. The only difference you have today is you have a government that listens to the intelligence and wisdom of the technocrats there. The technocrats came to me, I asked them, why did the process fail? What were the challenges? Did you raise them? And after I saw all the responses, they came with their issues. And I said to them, this is the policy direction we will take. And I've allowed them go through the process. It's been 1 year of detailed work and collaboration. So Alfred, let's be clear. We will have, and I keep saying it's not a re-registration, it's a registration.
So what? You don't recognize what happened between 2021
Alfred,
and 2023?
There was no legal basis for it.
You said there was no legal basis. You had, what, 30 million SIMs registered?
No.
And over 80 already been successfully
Alfred,
verified?
Alfred, the 2021 to 2023 registration was done on the back of LI 2111. Now, if anybody can just Google LI 211 because I'm speaking. LI 2111 is not a legislative instrument for SIM registration. It's a legislative instrument for the use of the National Identification Card, the Ghana card. So the LI 2111, which Esla Usu based her registration on, was an LI that Parliament passed stipulating what you can use the Ghana card for. One of the functions, one of about 18 or 19 functions that was spelled out in that LI was that in itself was not an LI for the registration of SIM cards. The only LI that Parliament has passed for the registration of SIM cards was an LI in 2010 that Haruna Idrisu presented for the 2010 registration. Now, at that time, you had not had the nationwide rollout of the Ghana card as you have today. And so at that time, there was multiplicity of documents to be used in that LI for registration of SIM cards. And if you go back and pick my criticism of Esla Usu in 2021 to 2023, I asked her to present an LI to Parliament because what she was doing was illegal because the law at the time for registration of SIM cards allowed you to use your NHIS, allowed you to use driver's license, passports, which was actually what we had moved away from. I agree with Esla that we should use one unified document, the Ghana card. But you must have a legislative instrument backing it. As we speak today, we've drafted a new legislative instrument. We've had extensive engagement with the industry, the Chamber of Telecoms. They've made their input. In fact, we've had 4 rounds of inputs by them. And we've said to them that at the end of this month, we'll complete the entire consultations and lay the new LI when Parliament resumes in May. It would go for 21 days. Now, that LI is what will govern the processes so that when you pick the LI, you understand the legal basis. Take, for example, that's why today, foreigners come into our country. You say that people should only register a SIM card with their Ghana card. A foreigner does not have a Ghana card. So when a foreigner comes into the country and is allowed to stay here for 90 days, how do they get a SIM card? That's why you have black market operations. And that's why you have people registering SIM cards for people. But in other jurisdictions, you have a legal framework for what we call tourist SIMs, which are valid and activated for 90 days or on the date of exit from the country, after which those SIMs are churned. We don't have that framework today. Those are some of the things we're dealing with today. That's why when they carried out the SIM registration, And again, Esla also admits to this in her statement she put out. She said that as they carried out the registration, they kept amending and improving the system. When you don't have a framework, then you are blown and tossed about by the wind or any wind that blows. So when they were running the system and then people complained, oh, we have people outside the country, how do they register? Then they quickly came up with an app. Well, the app was only on Android. So if you used an iPhone, you were discriminated against. Don't forget, our constitution says we should not discriminate on the basis of, for example, a software or firmware that your phone uses. But the point we're making here, Alfred, this registration that's going to start is going to be backed by law. We've worked not just with the NIA. Alfred, we've worked with the NIA to ensure that we have a seamless real-time verification against their database, something that didn't exist the last time. We're working with the Office of Registrar of Companies to now ensure that every business SIM, we are able in real time to identify from the ORC's database who are the directors of that company, and then extrapolate the Ghana card details of the owners of that company and link to all the business SIMs that are registered. We're working with the Ghana Immigration Service to ensure that all passports of foreigners who enter the country, who apply for a registration, were able to see their entry and exit date in real time. So that's another leg of collaboration that's happening. We're working with the Ministry of Foreign, for all foreign diplomats and staff of foreign embassies in the country who use a foreign ministry issued ID card to also do verification of them in real time. We're also working with multiple state agencies, including the police and all of that, to ensure that the system is robust enough. So this is not...
all of this doesn't happen in the 2021 to 2023 SIM registration?
Alfred, unfortunately, no.
Because ESLA also says over 80% of the about 30 million SIM cards that were registered within that period have already been successfully verified too. That claims that the excise had no value are inconsistent, especially because, and here's the point that said, the current approach uses the same methods.
Alfred, I've just explained the methods and what we are doing. And for those who followed the process, how is it that, I mean, the claim she's making that they follow the same methods is not founded by her own statement. She's saying that what she did not have verification against the NIA database. And I'm telling you that, and at the meeting where we were, I'm not just saying it, the executive secretary of the NIA was present and admitted to the fact that they've worked with us. In fact, for us to get where we've gotten to, and you know, there's a second leg to this whole thing. People say, and Esla alluded to that again, why don't you just take the 80% that have already been verified? Let's be clear. 30 million SIM cards per her reckoning were registered under her process. What we did was an audit sample of just 2 million. So it is incorrect to say that 80% of the 30 million cards have been verified. Now, we ran a biometric verification on the 2 million sample that we picked randomly. There was 0%, none, not even one matched. And that's very simple technology as well. The fingerprints were taken by the NIA using contact means. You put your hand on a device and it captured your fingerprint, just like what the Electoral Commission did. So you remember that whenever we go to vote, what we do is we put our finger on a biometric verification device because it's contact. What ESLA did was, NIA has a contact-based fingerprint system. Then she says, I'm taking contactless photographs of your fingerprint. You can't match that system anyway. What we then did was we used the facial recognition. Facial recognition was contactless. So we did that match across board. Now, Alfred, what we found out, and again at the meeting at the NCA, we showed you evidence of it. You saw cards that were verified in the 80% that we verified as against the NIS database. When we did further forensic analysis, you realize that 2 registrations have gone through as properly verified because the PIN, the Ghana card number, is the same. But when you pull up the record of the exact Ghana card that was used, you then begin to see disparities. The name on the Ghana card is different. Same Ghana card number, but different first name, different last name on the 2 cards. the height of the person is different. The date of birth of the person is different. Even the photograph of the person on the two cards, which have the same Ghana card number, is different. So you realize that one of those cards is a clone. But you see, because you just buy, basically it was, let's all go through, almost like what we saw with the free SHS at the beginning. Everybody just go through. We allowed everybody go through. You now have fraudulent Ghana card registrations into the system. And that's why we cannot say that everybody who is on the existing system just go on. Mm-hmm. We need to do a fresh liveliness test. And Alfred, this is where the catch is. In this studio, if I look across, everybody here is holding a smartphone. It means that everybody in this studio has no business queuing to register their SIM card. Because what's going to happen is that I'm using an Android. I see that Prof is using Prof Akosia. I'm using an Android, but Prof Akosia, Kofi, and are all using Apple. Yeah. Are all using iOS. We have a system that is now available on both Play Store and iOS, Android and iOS. Now you download the app. When you download the app asks you, and you can use either the app or USSD. It asks you to enter your Ghana card number. Once you enter your Ghana card number, in real time, it pulls up the biometrics against the NIA database. And then once you're using the app, it will ask you to do a liveliness test. And for those of you who use modern day banking, even when not, forget modern day banking, when you bought your phone, if you want to use your face to unlock your phone, when you buy a new phone, your face is scanned by your phone with your camera. It will tell you to turn your face, turn it around, and that's the same thing you're going to do. It's just going to ask you to verify your face. It will take the contours of your face, match it in real time against what the NIA holds.
I see.
Once that is matched, it allows you to register the SIM that you are talking, the SIM that is in your device. Then it makes you choose that SIM or whichever SIM it is, the first one, as your primary number. You lock that in as your primary number, and what we do at the back end is we register that SIM and also register the device on which that registration has been done. We pull the IMEI and match both together. So now we've matched your SIM card, your Ghana card, and your phone IMEI in one device. That's completely different from what Eslawusu did. This is the first time we're having 3 systems matching to identify that individual. Now, maybe Kofi has a second number. So Kofi wants to register that number. When Kofi tries to register that number, we will send an OTP to Kofi's primary number, which we have verified, to be sure that it is Kofi who is doing that registration. Because if someone picks your Ghana card and tries to register, because your Ghana card is now linked to your SIM card, it will send the OTP automatically to that number. So that person will not be able to register. So the issue of ghost SIMs will now be reduced or completely removed. Now, what this allows us to do is it allows us to deal with the issue of Momo fraud decisively. Today, what's the cost of Momo fraud? 10 Ghana cedis. Why do I say the cost of Momo fraud is 10 cedis? If you report a number and we investigate and that number is engaged in Momo fraud, we block the number. But how much is a new SIM? 10 Ghana cedis. The person buys a new SIM, throws out the old SIM, puts it in his phone and continues. But now with the CEIR, the Central Equipment Identity Register that we're building, and linking the IMEIs to the SIM, when your number is reported, don't forget that SIM has been linked to an IMEI of a device. That device is blocked. It then means that to use if you go and get a new SIM, you need a new phone because it's a piece of plastic. We will block it across all the networks because today, even if we decided to even block it, there was no way to block it across all networks. So people just migrate from one network to another to commit the fraud. Now we can block you across all SIMs. So your device and the SIM increases the cost for the fraudster. It means he needs to find some 2,000-3,000 to buy a new phone. Now, beyond that, because we have your Ghana card,
it doesn't eliminate mobile money fraud completely.
It raises the bar. But then beyond that, if a number linked to a Ghana card is found to have a second report, so for example, the person has registered 2 SIMs on that Ghana card. The first one is flagged in Momo fraud. We block it. He uses the second number. Once we have a second one, we don't just block your device now, we also block your Ghana card. Now, if we block your Ghana card, it means that you cannot access any other service in the country. with a Ghana card. Don't forget, your Ghana card is now your TIN number.
Unless you report yourself.
You have to report yourself to the police. You cannot get your health insurance renewed. You cannot get your driver's license renewed. You can't access your banking. So for anybody engaged in mobile money fraud, what we are doing is making it a very expensive venture that ultimately, when your Ghana card is blocked, because now we've done the direct verification and our systems are speaking, once we flag you and block you on our NCA system, the NIA does same to you, you are deprived of accessing any government services across the whole spectrum. That becomes a deterrent. That is the way you fight fraud. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. The people who will have to show up are persons who have challenges with their ability to do the registration. And we expect that to be a minimal number. And even with that, we're expecting it to be on a booking basis. So the way you book for your passport or you book for a visa, using USSD code, all the telcos are going to open mobile shops and you book an appointment. So you are not going to have 1,000 people show up at the shop because if you go there based on your appointment. Apart from that, the ministry is converting all our post offices across the country. And Ghana Post has a huge footprint across the country in rural communities. Yeah. We're opening up self-service centers and assisted service centers in all our centers. Don't forget that part of the biggest problem people had in 2021 was you had only 60% of the country having Ghana cards. Today, you have over 90%. But at that time, there were only 7 centers nationwide that were issuing Ghana cards. 7. Today, you have 294. So anybody who needs a Ghana card, and what we are doing even with our mobile teams is working with the NIA, we're embedding NIA registration teams with our mobile teams. So when you go into a community, the mobile team is there, they register the Ghana card for you, they register your SIM for you, and you move on. So this is a completely different process. I can appreciate the Honorable Eslawusu Ekufu's discomfort in the fact that, people were put through a lot of hassle, and it amounted to nothing. But the facts are the facts. But you see, if she herself has admitted that there was no biometric verification, we need to have a database that's biometrically verified.
I'm going to come to you, but there are quite a number of messages. Dr. Alfred Appiah is a data scientist. He says, good morning, Alfred. I want to find out from the minister, when I last watched him address the matter, he explained that they were conducting a validation of the biometric data previously collected against the NIA database. At the time, he indicated that 80% of that exercise had been completed and that many subscribers would not need to resubmit their biometric information. What is the current status?
I think I've answered that in my response already. I've answered that by elucidating what the process is. And again, I stated that we did an audit based on 2 million we took a sample size to do the audit. And that audit established for us the challenges with even those that went through the fake documentation that was used to do the previous registration. Right. And that's the reason why everybody needs to do it. But that's why we put convenience and comfort of the customer above any other policy consideration. And then ensure that now you can sit at home with your smartphone and do your own device registration.
I see. And this is another point that Eslawusu Ekufu makes. That overall, yes, the exercise in concedes was not perfect, but created a solid foundation that should be improved rather than dismissed based on what you're having now.
You see, the challenge here is you cannot build on a flawed foundation.
So this entire process was flawed between 2021 and 2023?
The entire process, why we're all asked to get a Ghana card and queue, was to ensure biometric verification. Listen, the entire 2021 to 2023, the reason why we couldn't continue with the 2010 registration was because we were supposed to get biometric verification of our SIM cards against the NIA. Eslawusu has admitted that in the registration she did between 2021 to 2023, there was no biometric verification. So how do we build on a flawed foundation? The woman herself has admitted that, yes, I did some registration, but her registration clearly was not different from the 2010 to 2011 one, which we all agreed was problematic. The only difference was in 2010, people used multiple national IDs. In 2022, they used one national ID. But the reason for doing this was not about using one ID. It was about using one ID that you could verify biometrically. So the fundamental basis of the registration was biometric verification. If biometric verification did not happen, We can't work on the basis of that. So unfortunately, yes, it was a good attempt. But you see, this is how when, and we've got a lecturer here, they'll tell you, good attempt, but you missed the point.
See, Mr. Bento, I'm bringing on this particular point because of this is a policy matter. It was a policy that was implemented within a particular period, and the gaps that have been identified, some acknowledged, and then what is going to be done now to address those specific issues. There's an indication that this is one that we'll not have to do again. In fact, that's quite a number of the messages I've got on that path, that what is the assurance that this is going to be the last SIM registration?
If we're able to
another
get
minister
the
will not
biometric
come and say,
verification,
okay, Sam George didn't do it well, and he presided over
Alfred,
this
one
with
thing
lapses.
I can agree with Eslawusu on is the fact that we need a SIM registry that is biometrically verified. Because that's the only way you can say you have a proper SIM register that allows you to identify who owns the SIM. Biometric verification. Now, if you have a system today, which she herself admits did not have biometric verification, if we're able to do it now and do biometric verification, there should be no reason.
Why didn't you do it at the first effort?
Well, I won't answer. Esla, and I explain to you.
President Mills time.
In 2010, 2011, when Haruna tried it, you did not have the Ghana card there at the time. They had not started rolling out nationwide at the time. You had the first attempt to roll out Ghana cards in Professor Mills' time. A few people had their Ghana cards now.
NIA was there.
NIA was there, but you had less than 15% of the country.
But we could have done it.
Kofi, but that ally allowed for the Ghana card to be used, but allowed for the passport, allowed for driver's license, allowed for birth certificates, multiplicity of identification. And Kofi, that led us to a challenge of being able to do the verification of all those multiple documents.
You see, at that time, we could have done the fingerprint biometric verification against the SIM card. So, see, yes, it's a policy matter. This runs behind the NIA thing, which we have been very involved in at Imani. You have received some of our letters concerning this, your exercise.
Yes, I have.
Yes. And we had a few interactions. You responded to a few of the things. And I have the task to decide where we're going to go, what we're going to do. Why I'm going through this is that if this is the third time, and from day one, poor us with our small staff could say this is what should be done more than 10 years ago. And we go through the strand 10 years ago. And we go through the stresses we've gone through, and today, Sam George says, I'm going to do it the way we said we're going to do it. And say there's a new design of something, want to do something again. Well, what are we dealing with? Okay, so I simply want to make the first point that, look, when sometimes the ultimate solution is suggested, because it's a public thing, okay, it may be useful to, I don't want to sound like you should listen to us, but what you are saying is what we were saying more than 10 years ago. And now we are back.
So then you should support us, because then we're agreeing.
And now we are back.
So then you should support us, because then we're agreeing with you.
It's not like we don't support you. We say this should have happened. I'm talking about policy.
No, but Kofi,
hold on.
I wasn't minister when you did your first policy.
I'm not talking about
President
you.
Mahama was not president.
It was Atta Mills.
Yes.
Okay. So there was a government.
Okay. Okay.
And so we have problems.
No,
that is
you are thinking differently. I am talking policy. Hold on.
You see, I think we should be looking at people.
Okay. What I'm trying to explain is government is a continuum.
Yes.
All right. I've said policy is strategy for achieving social goals and whatever it is. And I'm saying 10 years ago, if you look at it objectively without anything, no procurement, whatever it is, it was clear to us what should have been done. We voiced it, we engaged people on it, okay? We've had all these fights, all those other things. Now, I'm happy he's saying some of the things we were saying 10 years ago. I'm saying, why have we had to put our people through this? Okay, and now we are going to do so. I am not criticizing you. I am saying we could have avoided this and made some progress. That's one. Two, what you are trying to do, we are happy with it because a lot of it agrees with what we're trying to say, okay? But we also want to make sure, for instance, who will be the custodian of this information?
NCA.
Okay, that's a problem for us. Okay, we have set up a national authority. It's not a board, it's not a commission, it's not anything, it's an authority. Now, that should be the single place where all national identification and related matters should be reposed. And anybody who needs it goes there and picks it from there. Then you have one place where everybody picks from. NCA can have
I just respond?
I'm coming.
Okay. Yeah.
NCA can have its connection to it, SNIT can have its connection to it, DVLA can have its connection to it. If somebody has a problem, they go there, they sort it out, that kind of thing. So if you have an NCA one, well, NIA also have its own, because the Ghana card has a biometric aspect to it. When you have two databases, there is potential of conflict. Okay, so I'm saying this is so far the better or maybe the best effort yet. We had a fight with ESLA. Okay, now I'm just pointing out that maybe please.
I want
you are doing politics. Me, I'm doing my work. See, hold on.
So far,
hold
this
on.
is what.
Look, I think there are a few things that we can do, or some judge can do, to make it unnecessary for us to go through this again.
Okay.
And then in future, if we have to do anything else, we just add to this. And one of the things is the principle that we must have a single silo and a single national database for some fundamental information like biometrics. And that place should be the NIA. Okay, and then there are about 7 different cards in this country.
Not the NCA.
It shouldn't be the NCA. It shouldn't be the NCA. Okay, so for me, I'm trying not to, but our engagement is not done. Like I said, I'm taxed now, working with some other CSO to engage you more. And if you didn't want to, then we're going to fight it out. But I kind of want you to go ahead, but can you pick some of these little things? You're going to say something about the point about the single side. Let me hear you on that.
The NIA will remain and remains by law our single source of truth for all biometric verification. What the NCA is developing is a SIM registry. Now, the NCA is also an authority, just like the NIA. Don't forget, it's the National Communications Authority. It's the single authority and regulator over the telecom space.
Telecoms, yes.
The SIM registry is not an identity issue. It's a telecom issue. That is what you are suggesting will mean that because all banking transactions also need a Ghana card, then the Bank of Ghana can no longer hold the regulatory data it holds for banks. All of that should also go to NIA.
That's not what I'm saying, but you go ahead.
So but that's basically what the SIM registry is.
What I'm
because
saying,
you see, when there is a challenge on a SIM card, the report does not go to the NIA. The report goes to the regulator of the telecom space, which is the NCA. The NCA must have its own database of all SIMs and all equipment, telephone equipment.
Agree.
So we are not building a parallel database to the NIA. If we were, we would not be needing the NIA for verification. We would have been collecting our own biometrics and saying we are now storing our own biometrics and holding it. No, the NIA remains our single source of truth. However, for the purposes of the function of the NCA as a regulator of the telecom space, when issues of Momo fraud come up, issues of device theft come up, and things that are related to telecoms, you cannot be referring that to the National Identification Authority. It will come to the NCA, and the NCA must have this database, which again will be stored at the National Data Center with NITA.
Okay, so cool. I think we agree, but there's a view.
So that's what I'm saying. That
I hear you.
Of what we are doing,
Let me just,
we need a bit of clarity on that.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are agreeing, but maybe So what it means is this: the NIA has my biometrics.
Yes.
The metrics.
Yes.
Now, if I want to register my SIM card, therefore, what should happen is I go and I say, this is my number A, B, C, D, E, and I put my hand on the NCA machine to check my fingerprint. Hold on.
Yes.
When I put my hand there, that fingerprint should hit
NIA's database. Yes.
And then tell NCA that this is correct. So you don't need to keep a database per se. I'm coming.
The database we are keeping is not of your fingerprints. It's of the registration.
Telco. Again, good. So I'm saying that my SIM card belongs to a telco.
Yes.
The telco does not need to keep my biometrics.
Nobody's keeping your biometrics.
Hold on. Yeah, I mean, you see, we are clarifying.
Okay.
Okay. It just says that if you are the person with this number, okay, then what we are seeing here in terms of your fingerprint must correspond with what is at NIA.
Yeah.
So there's a certain linkage, okay? maybe ask some of the people here, the communication has sounded as if we are going to collect all those things again and keep it in NCA. And I'm making the point that when you have those two things, there will be conflict. And there should be one source of truth. Okay? And I'm saying there are 7 different institutions or so, all of which must do this thing. And they are all fighting to keep their own data, including EC. So Kofi, if you are clarifying that this is what is going to be, then we are making progress.
Yes. So Alfred, and I'm happy Kofi's raised this for the benefit of our public. The NCA, through this registration process, is not going to be collecting any biometrics.
I see.
In fact, we're not doing so because the NIA has both fingerprint and face recognition. That's what we're doing facial. And today, if you even look at the NIA is currently doing some recruitment of temporary staff. Your face, it's matched against the NIA's data. Your face, it's matched against the NIA's database. The NIA confirms that it's been done. Then what happens is the NCA now stores your name and your SIM number and your IMEI on its database, not your biometrics. Your biometrics still remain at the NIA. And another thing we're doing at the ministry, which is the data harmonization bill, which is going to Parliament, is going to help us deal with the silos you're talking about. We're building a national data exchange hub.
Interoperability.
That will then allow interoperability of all data sets and data silos via API. I don't want to do it today by ministerial letter. So we're going to Parliament to have Parliament pass a legislation that mandates every data holder, biometric data processor, to submit it to that national repository, and we can then do cross-referencing in real time by API calls. So we're going to where you're talking about to deal with the interoperability of all of our data silos. But on this process, we are not going to hold any biometric data. We're only going to match in real time. And that's why I said there's a lot that we've listened to you.
I hear you.
We've read extensively your critique of all the processes. We've picked all the salient points in them, and we've tried to address them by law.
Okay, just this one too, please, I beg.
Hold on.
I was on the floor.
Because you mentioned court, I just want to clarify. There's a message about a particular Supreme Court ruling.
There's a recent court ruling that has just been done.
This is the Goni versus Vodafone Attorney General and the NCA, 25th of February 2026. There is a lawyer who has just sent this, taking into consideration this recent ruling. He says, as we prepare for this registration, this is what the Supreme Court has very recently said about the right to privacy related to such registrations. Are you considering this particular court?
I've referred the ruling. In fact, the NCA has applied to the court for the full judgment so that we can study it. But again, I believe and I'm confident that our process would apply and fall in tandem with the law. Because don't forget, to register, for you to go through the registration, you submit to go through the registration. There are terms and conditions. So you have your rights of privacy. So you use, it's your permission to do the registration. However, don't forget that yes, you have your right of privacy. The state also has a right to the use of technology and spectrum. So if the state says to be able to use the spectrum resources of the state through a telco to make a phone call, you need to be biometrically verified for the purposes of public safety and national security. If you think that for your own privacy rights, you don't want to subject yourself to that, nobody will force you to do that. But it means that you will not have access to use the state spectrum to make a phone call.
There is a different line to that.
Point.
And a different line to that. Oh, please, there was a point I was going to make about the facial. But on this, because you brought it up, that is the problem with Kelny GVG. That is the issue we went to court on. That you are introducing a third party into the notes of the telcos, who you by contract have taken their information which you by law must keep private. So when you introduce a third party to the notes where they have that access, then you are compromising my privacy, all right? And those things have still not been dealt. Is Kelny DVD still working? Are they still in those notes?
Relative to SIM registration?
No. It's
the
this
common
ruling.
Platform, or the common platform.
This ruling is what brought it up because there were similar issues we took to court in Kelny GVG. But so you can answer that. But on my substantive issue concerning the facial recognition, you see, it is a fact better than facial recognition. We've gone through that with EC many times now. The fingerprint system also happens to be cheaper, okay, which we already have and can build on. you are going to do the facial recognition sitting at the NCA, which is fine. But you have a situation where people's faces change. I can tell you that there are 2 people in my house. Their faces open each other's phones. All right? So when you have a better system like the fingerprint system that you can build on, okay, why should we spend money to use a recognition system which we know for a fact actually can create more problems than it solves? Okay? I mean, it's your prerogative, but I'm asking, I can see the problems it will create. Why I'm saying so is that if we spend more money building the NIA, okay, we will not need the facial recognition. So I would rather say, going back to the original point, that we should really focus on NIA, build it very strong, build the pipes very strong, and make sure that, look, everybody has, the thing, you put it down, and that's it.
In responding to this,
quickly.
You use fingerprint verification for Electoral Commission, but that's why when you vote, you have to get a biometric verification device everywhere. It then means, if you want to do the fingerprint, because the fingerprint is not contactless, it means that all 30 million will have to and do the verification.
With your post offices, like you said.
No, so then you're now introducing the cost element of having to buy biometric verification devices for all of the centers. That in itself is a new cost element you haven't averted your mind to. We've actually been trying to see if we could get the Electoral Commission to loan us their verification devices so that the way they are in, there are all the issues about.
No, we have. I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is, so that is where the investment should go. So we use it for elections, and the post offices are all over the place.
Well,
you should have it everywhere.
In today's country, if you ask me, the cost of having to buy biometric verification devices, a fresh set of biometric devices, if we can still do facial recognition, which Kofi is way better.
Respectfully, you are making it
way better.
It's just a fingerprint identification. It's a small thing.
All right.
Private entities have it. Let's invest in the right things once and for all.
Kofi,
not everybody has a smartphone.
Thank you. And they will use USSD. But Kofi, a private entity, how many people are they going to process?
No. I'm saying government.
Thank you very much.
Let's not.
I don't want to be drawn into procurement of biometric verification devices. If I can get people to use their own devices to do a biometric
We've gone too technical, so I'll leave it here.
No, but it's an important conversation, and that angle we had to explore.
Yes, I have a question or two.
No, I'll come to you. Please. I'll come to you on this. Yes.
Akofi has been itching.
No, there's something about a quote. If you live long enough, you see your heroes become villains. And it's also vice versa.
Yeah.
I think so. If you live long enough. And we've come full circle. There was something he said that you can't build on a flawed foundation. Yeah. And I agree. Because in 2010, 2011, that was nothing. It was nothing for it to even be a foundation for us to build on. I commend the former Minister of Communication, Esla, for the role she played and how far at least we came to get a certain system in place. I will also never, in fact, it's one of my proudest moments as a young politician to actually know somebody whose ideas and vision plays out. Ghana Card, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said it 10,000 times over that he would prefer that to any other thing as far as our development was concerned. Because you cannot underplay the importance of a single source document. Today, he's sitting here talking about how the inconvenience is limited. Why is it limited? Because somebody took a bold step. When it comes to national registration, just like they did with free SHS, we started it. There was a modicum of improvement and what? Nothing as compared to what we were able to do. Again, he criticized ESLA for weak enforcement and data consistencies. He agrees here, at least with the text message that was read as well, that in their own audit, I believe at NIA, 80% of the data that was captured, in which they are vetted, was actually good.
No, that's not what I said.
That's
okay,
not.
so 80% of the data is what? What comes out of the 80%?
80% of the data, of the sample audit size went through as having been verified. However, when you did a further analysis, you then realized that of that 80%, there were ghost or cloned cards used to beat the system.
Okay, so
that
again-
80% can be said to be good.
Okay,
So you've
but you
jettisoned
have
it.
it.
Yes.
No,
That's
but
all.
at the end of the day, even with your 80%, you still haven't told us how many ghost names exist for us to actually know what the real threat is.
There are no
Again,
system
they
is
are going
perfect.
to good. So that's the point I'm coming
You
to.
build on it.
You are building on a system. This facial recognition that he's talking about, this, for like the example he gave about two persons in his home, whose face Obon Academy, and call my friends to join hands, lock in step, to threaten the exercise he wants to do. But if others do it, I will not stop them. He, with the colleagues, some of them sitting in parliament now, decided to be an op in Eslowusu's life. When she was preaching progress, when the MPP was saying, this will help us see the benefits that Ghana card is bringing already, they were against it. Now, the justification for this, you can make our lives easier if at the back end there's actually enough technology existing to solve these problems for us. In fact, you could even use AI. I bet you there's an AI prompt, be it Claude or whatever application that exists to cure all these problems.
Really?
It's possible. I'm saying that we should think through it. Because this inconvenience that he wants to downplay, that is not an inconvenience. I disagree.
Okay.
You are pushing, again, you said the registration before was flawed. You are pushing for a reset. What you are saying is a re-registration exercise. You've created the impression that we are not going anywhere to go and queue or whatnot, right? That we are not going to physically show up anywhere to do it. We are just going to take our phones and process. Please, again, previous government championed education. We've moved a bit further. But there are still some people who can't complete this process at home by themselves. There are whole families who will not be able to process this. So the activity you want to undertake will be impeded. There will be challenges. It is not too necessary as far as I'm concerned. Whatever shortfalls you believe exists now, you can do it without a registration exercise. So whatever team exists for him, whatever thinking process that went through, they have to sit down and look at it. Ghana card being linked to our SIM already exists. It does. These telcos, what they've been doing as far as this fraud and whatever is concerned is every 6 months, people lose their numbers if you're not using it actively, right? It's been happening. If you're not using your numbers actively, the telcos dismiss it. So as we speak, there's some sort of corrective mechanism as far as people's usage of their SIM cards are concerned. And Ghana card is linked to it. We've moved forward. Sam George, make it easier for Ghanaians by using your backroom operations, whatever exists, to cure this problem. I don't believe it's that big of a problem. Again, you mentioned diplomats and foreigners and all that. It was captured in the last registration. The document exists. Unless there's some challenge to that, I don't think it necessitates a re-registration. Please, let me
they
look
have
at
a
it.
special Ghana card.
They have a special
Our
Ghana
thinking is
card.
that they should have used
So
that
it
to
cannot be
register.
one of the reasons why this has to be done.
That's what's going on.
That's why I said we're working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I want her to finish so that if she's done, I can address the issue she's raised.
We can't, I don't see the necessity. We've moved ahead. There's a database in place. It has its flaws here and there, but let's correct it. It's not for us to go through a whole process. It's not like we are going to get a new ID card. We are not. Even newborns are getting captured at birth, or babies. So this re-registration exercise, what are we going to do? With a 4-month-old baby, with a 1-year-old toddler. We are going to be using facial recognition for 6 months old, who I'm sure your son...
Your 6-month-old is going to have a mobile phone?
No, your 6 months... I'm saying...
What are you
No,
talking
but
about?
if you are capturing... At what age are you capturing them? Because if
It's
you are
for
capturing...
SIM card owners.
Okay, so SIM card owners...
So is your 6-month-old going to have a...
Minors have phones.
Your 6-month-old?
No, I'm saying... I'm giving an example of face changing. Okay, you can hop on that to make your point.
No, but the point is, if you register the SIM,
at what age are
you are not going to come back again and register subsequently.
Everybody, you said you are going to have a database of facial recognition for everybody.
Akosua,
is it to do with the SIM?
If the person is a 5-year-old,
my point again is that every 6 months the telcos correct that problem. of people using SIM cards.
That's not correct.
They've stopped doing that.
That's not correct.
They've stopped doing that because
No.
I know that if you don't over a period of time, it goes off.
We're not talking about inactive SIMs. We're talking about even active SIMs and being able to identify who is using the active SIM.
Okay.
So you're talking about
If
two
you are
different things
okay,
here.
So now you want to cure fraud. You want to cure fraud majorly. That's your concern. Is that what it is? Because the justification for a re-registration exercise, for me, is not convincing enough.
Okay.
There are ways to cure this.
Can
It's
I
not
just quickly
necessarily
address those issues?
going through, forget, how do you call it, young kids and facial recognition and all that. You can throw that away. But going through that tedious process
Okay.
is not tenable. To me, it's not convincing for me. Because the process, the hard work that had to be done, he opposed it. The work that he has to do is easier than what we did. So he should find a way to cure it.
All right.
Yes. And not necessarily putting everybody through a whole process again. I'm not convinced.
That the process will be seamless.
No, I'm not convinced that we need a re-registration exercise.
Okay.
I'm not. Because if I'm thinking about Sam George 4 years ago and Esla making this case, he would have gone ape, forget the word, but you know the American expression. He would have lost it and jumped from station to station and be firing on his social media with lion images. We've moved. The person who you said couldn't achieve it has made sure that we have a single source document, which is so powerful, it makes work easier. So find a way. You are young enough, you are smart enough, find a way. At least we know that when it comes to creating chaos, you are good at it. But find a solution. You need to find a solution to this one. And it's not to no, I'm saying so because I'm saying so because you see
you could have said this without necessarily
okay,
having to
I
go
take
there.
it back. But when I sit here and I
fine.
realize what Sam George put Esla through, he knows what he put Esla through. If I'm sitting here, I'm seeing what the few men in politics, when they get to a certain level, the sort of vitriol and hate and whatever comes their way, and what he in particular put her through. But again, she achieved something monumental. So do something without necessarily getting all of us.
Monumental and the SIM fraud is still ongoing.
SIM fraud,
let me just address that.
So we have to put checks and balances.
You've raised some issues. I think
There'll
you
always
deserve
be there.
some
There'll
response.
always be some sort of fraud.
It is fine
So
for you
it's-
to
it's-
oppose
it's
the process or not be convinced by it. It's fine.
I'm going by.
It's fine.
I'm going by the blueprint you
but you
laid
know
out
the
for us to follow.
facts are not sentimental. Facts don't care whose ox is God. They are facts. He said I put Esla through. He said I went ape on Esla. Fine. Take all my press engagements and all my social media posts. Everything I complained about that process, many of them will also complain about by Imani.
Imani is not the minister now.
Oh,
You
wait.
are the minister.
Oh, wait. Fantastic. And that is
You
why
are the
today
minister.
that I am the minister, I am walking my talk and fixing Esla's flaws. You can't expect me to come and say that because she's a woman. I keep saying, look, this whole business
It's
of
not
she's
because
a woman.
she's a woman.
She's
I'm
gone
saying
here.
that. I am saying that
okay.
she
Look,
doesn't have the benefit.
We would
to sit here and defend
celebrate
herself.
women. We would
But you have
celebrate
done
women
things
not
and said
because
things.
of their gender, but because of their competence. When we celebrate Marietta Brew for winning the Itlos case, it's not because she was a woman. It's because of her legal prowess and competence.
Then will it be fair
And
to
so
conclude that
when you want
you
us to
ask some
celebrate,
will it be
questions.
fair to
You
conclude
ask some
that you are
questions.
incompetent? If
Akusia,
you are saying that you
ask
celebrate,
some questions.
no,
I
he
think
just
that-
said something. You
I-
didn't correct
no,
it.
no,
You didn't correct
hold on.
it. He said you
Let's not
celebrate
get
women
scared.
if they are competent,
you ask some
suggesting that
questions.
Esla is not competent. But here he sits on a database that she championed and at least worked on.
Would you
Call
have
that
her
out.
responsibility?
No, you have to call that.
Would
You
you
need
have
to
her-
take that back.
Okay,
That's
you
not
know
fair.
what?
You said you were sitting and I was being a bit too harsh.
Okay,
Esla is not
hold
here.
on,
He
hold
said, and again, that one you are quiet. Jampo is okay.
Okay,
He's
so-
quiet. He wasn't. Oh, the minister is sitting here. so-
Why are you
He's looking
inviting
the
me?
other way.
Okay. No.
But again,
Akusia,
that's
you
not fair.
have made
It
your
wasn't
point.
fair.
I don't think that.
If you are
we
saying
went
that,
on and
no,
on
if
about
you're saying that
this. You see,
championing women, look, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, at the barest minimum,
you have made your point. You
this
asked
woman's
questions.
letter, the
You
letter
asked questions.
refutes
Thank you.
claims that you made.
Thank you very much.
That you yourself has spoken
Alfred.
to, parts of which you have agreed.
I repeat the
You will
point.
not sit here and insult
We
me.
will celebrate public office holders, whether they are men or women, not because of their gender, but because of their competence. The reason why Esla put this country through a SIM registration between 2021 to 2023 was to get us biometrically verified using the NIA's database for a SIM card. Did she achieve that? Her own statement says no. So if you were set out with one goal in sight, we would not reward attempts. We will reward results.
You have nothing to show for it.
Ursula
You have nothing
made
to show
an
for
attempt.
it.
You want us to celebrate attempts?
What have
We
you
won't celebrate
done?
attempts.
Well, let's go to the other
Data
issue.
charges are still high.
Today, we are rolling out a new system. The result of our system will determine if tomorrow Sam George will get applause for his results or whether I'll also be castigated for my attempt. I am confident that working with the fine minds at the NCA and NIA and all the allied institutions we have today, we will deliver results to Ghanaians and not attempts. It is because Ghanaians were not comfortable with attempts that they changed government. And so this government will not do an attempt. We will solve it. But again, like I said, facts are not sentimental. Facts are facts. Let us be clear. Dr. Bawumia did not introduce the Ghana card.
Yes. It's not about
I'm going to read a story from Graphic Online by Zainabu Issa, dated October 9th, 2014.
Waste of time.
National identification cards to be ready November 2015. And when you read the story, you realize that the contract for the issuance of Ghana cards preceded Dr. Bawumia becoming vice president. So when you sit here and want to look at this point in time, you will tell us that Dr. Bawumia was responsible for the Immaculate Conception of Mary.
No.
Because everything in this country is Dr. Bawumia, except the one thing we place in his hand, the economy. Everything that happened well in this country. In fact, before the birth of Christ, the Immaculate Conception of Mary was done by Dr. Bawumia, according to Akosua and the MP. However, the one thing we put in Dr. Bawumia's hand, the economy, it was tanked, it was crushed, it was made worthless. At a point in time, Ghana's currency was the worst performing currency in the world, behind the Zimbabwean dollar. We put Palugu down and he's scared to build. Did he build Palugu down? It's an issue. Look, you cannot sit here and pontificate. And like I said,
I will, and I'll call you out on it because there's evidence of your operation.
Microphone is off. Like I said to Afeju Markin at my vetting, that the vetting could not be used to whitewash President Akufo-Addo's record. No amount of white paint, be it Savannah or Coral, would change our recollection of Dr. Bawumia's failure when we put one thing in his care, the economy. The Ghana card was not Dr. Bawumia's creation. And look, let me just say, as minister, I am too responsible to take the suggestion of Akosua to take Claude or any such AI tool and run it through my national biometric database. Do you know who owns that software?
I don't care. I'm saying that you inconvenience Ghanaians.
You say you don't care. I should take an American Department of Defense solution and go and run it through our national AI database. This is the kind of policy thinking that we have from the NPP. This is the kind of policy thinking we have from the NPP.
And dismiss the work of somebody whose shoulders you are standing on.
I'm not standing on anybody's shoulders.
Gentlemen,
you apologize to her at the very least. Shoulders you are standing in the ministry. What you see at the ministry that you are walking around like you are wearing a bulletproof vest to Lord over Ghanaians is her work as well.
In the end,
so you don't sit here and disregard
ask questions which you were expecting some responses to. The other question that's outstanding is how you would address the technology literacy gap, so that
we should have done more technical stuff.
And that's why we said, when I responded to you, I said that we have a USSD option as well.
Good.
For persons who do not have smartphones, today, because of the preponderance of mobile money, people are used to USSD processes. Okay, so they go through the USSD process, and then they would then do the facial recognition bit via the mobile teams. That's why I said that we're rolling out mobile teams in all of this, in especially largely rural communities. They're also able to go to our CICs or our post offices and have the biometric capture done for them. But the base documentation information, which is their Ghana card details and all, are done by USSD. So we've taken into consideration all demographics. Whether you have smartphones or you have feature phones, there is a process that has been outlined for you. And we're going to ensure that we will do this with our rural folks. Because again, I keep saying, Kofi, the people who are most vulnerable, who fall victim to Sister Nye Mifrefi lending, are rural folks. And they're the ones we need to protect the most.
Okay.
And so we are making sure that the system is not agnostic to demographics. And so that's why I said this policy, we've taken our time, we've reviewed all the processes that happened in 2010, in 2021 to 2023. We've looked at all the money policy papers and all the other policy papers that were issued by other CSOs. I've handled that. That's why, Kofi, I spoke about re-registration at my vetting. It's been over a year. I haven't come out yet on it. Because for a whole year, we took our time to study what went wrong and find out what is the most practical solution to it. Okay. I would not rush into this.
So why did you send us those thinkers the early days? When
because somebody claimed that I had single-handedly awarded the contract. Meanwhile, I have now written to finance for commitment authorization.
No, but sometimes manage your...
But you don't make enough coffee. I challenged your colleague at Imani that I will resign if you could show. And how many public officers have been able to take such a principal stand as me? I will resign if you can show. Because Kofi, yes, I'm a public officer, but coming from Kofi, you see, civil society also has responsibilities. You as a civil society organization cannot make an allegation that a minister of state has breached the president's code of conduct by single-handedly picking a company, directing that company should be given a contract, and have sourced and awarded the contract. At a point in time when I had not even written to the finance ministry for commitment authorization, that was irresponsible on the part of civil society. And so you cannot say that when you make such a categorical allegation, I should keep quiet. I will have to defend myself.
I am simply saying,
please, Dr.
let's tone down on the energies.
Formalize our economy. That's fact.
Okay.
Somebody is sitting at the Jubilee House that has been taxed to implement a 24-hour economy. It's been a year and 3 months. There's nothing. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia at
there is law.
There is nothing.
And we know, and it is internationally recognized for that. So you can downplay him and have your fun at your ministry. But that fact cannot be twisted. No, but I responded to the comments.
Let me listen. I know that this is a very important program. I tell you, the caliber of people who are watching, I mean, you'll be amazed. Sometimes it can get heated and emotional, but let us not degenerate it unnecessarily. Okay, so let's stick to the issues. I mean, I'm not comfortable with Akusia's reference of Sam George as only being interested in inciting chaos and then also walking around as somebody wearing I don't think, and I'm happy. I ignored it. That's okay, but so it can degenerate, and I think it's not fair. Look, clearly, I mean, around this table, I think it is decidedly clear that the previous SIM registration process had a major challenge. We needed one ID that could be verified biometrically. As we speak, we don't have it. And so it becomes important, a problem. I've listened to Honorable Sam George and all that is being done. I mean, it's been a lot of, I'm on social media looking at the comments that are coming. It's been a lot of education and clarity or clarification about what is being done. I'm also excited to know that Imani, that played a lot of role in keeping the previous minister on her toes, has also engaged the ministry, engaged Sam George and his ministry, and there's been, discussions. Suggestions have been proffered as to how things can be done, and Sam George tells us that they have looked at all that have been sent and some of the issues they are addressing even by law. I think that, well, that's the role civil society would have to be playing. And then also I hear Akusia also saying other things with regards to what can be done to solve, minimize or to solve some of the problems or some of the issues that Kofi, you have raised. I think that is the way to go. But it is important that, especially in going about some of these things, civil society takes the view or appreciates the fact that you are entitled to make recommendations, keep regimes on their toes, and then also subject ministries to strict proof. But in doing so, you should also be careful to note that somebody has also been elected and has the mandate to govern. And so where there are differences in terms of opinions, there are differences in terms of what you think should be the way forward, we should also be a bit magnanimous, cautious in appreciating the fact that your view is not accepted by the one who has the mandate does not necessarily make the route he wants to go wrong. And so, I've been with civil society all my life until recently that I got appointed. Mm-hmm. And we've studied and written extensively about civil society. One of the challenges of civil society is that has been extensively researched and documented is sometimes the arrogance in opinion. The fact that, look, if we say X, and you don't do X, then you are wrong, and so they want to. Sometimes, yes, you have to listen to civil society, but sometimes civil society itself must also appreciate that they don't also know it all. And so you can give a view, if it is sensible, it must be taken on board. But where the one in charge also feels that, well, this is the route that we feel we'll have to go, you must also be magnanimous enough to say that, well, if that's how you want to go, so be it. And so, Kofi, I like the banter. I mean, even though we're sitting here quietly, we were also learning. I mean, some of the things that we're doing and then some of the things that you're saying. But generally, I think that, look, what Sam George has come to do has shed a lot of clarity on what is being done. And one thing that I can say, it convinces me that this government led by John Mahama is not senseless. This government led by John Mahama is sensible, it is responsible, it is proactive, and it is empathetic. It is mindful of the challenges that are there and are required to be fixed. And like I said, President Mahama did not jump onto the campaign rail just for the fun of it. Okay. He said that he wants to leave a legacy. And part of leaving a legacy would have to be that if there are issues that are there, that have saddled or bedeviled, or that bedeviled our SIM registration processes, they have to be fixed. And if they have to be fixed, and all of us will have some peace of mind, all of us would be safeguarded from same people who use mobile phones to call. I mean, one day I was in a meeting, chairing an important meeting. Somebody just called and said, your child is not well, and so you have to come to this hospital or send some money. I said, which of my children? I said, but don't you have a child? I said, which of them? And I was so scared. But before I could take a decision, I mean, I got a prompt that no, it's a fraud.
It's a fraud.
Okay, so if we would be able to, and I've had an instance where somebody was trying to fraud me on food, and then eventually on the phone we became friends. I told my friend, stop what you are doing. I mean, this game, we now understand it. And so he started by insulting me, but I said, I mean, insults, they don't kill a teacher. And then later he said the system is sad and that's why they are doing some of these. But you see, some people have been falling prey to some of these things. Sure. It takes a responsible government to identify this as a problem and to put in place serious interventions aimed at fixing them. Okay. But in the process of fixing them, we also admit that he who is cutting a path would not know his back is crooked. And so where there are suggestions here and there, and that's why I'm saying I'm commending Kofi Bentel for the role that he is playing with Imani in proffering some of the advice and suggestions as to how these things can be done and be done better. But in so doing, he should also be mindful of the fact that your advice would not always be taken hook, line, and sinker. You should be moderate enough in appreciating the fact that sometimes you may not know it all. And so the idea where, or the practice where some CSO leaders would take a certain position and would deliberately or unconsciously close their minds to, other views, I mean, for me, it's not helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, just a quick one.
No,
Just a quick
I'm
one.
going to have to go for a quick break. When I come back, you have your, because there are quite a number of
No,
questions.
Akosua just showed me something which is very important.
All right.
She showed me a message someone had asked her. I thought she should have spent more time on those kind of things with me.
'cause
But
Alfred
on the
doesn't want
question,
to talk
on the
again. That's
issue
why I
of
showed it to you. Alfred
if you
is
had
bullying
asked that
me.
question, that would have been better
Alfred is
than
bullying
the
me.
shade you were throwing at me.
It came
But you
after.
see,
But I
the
had
point
to
is,
correct
someone asked if they have two SIMs in a phone. And I said that the first SIM is registered, is locked to the IMEI. What happens to the second SIM? On the equipment, able to know that this device, every device, once an IMEI, we're able to know if it's a single SIM or a double SIM. So if it is a double SIM phone and you register the first number, it allows you to link a second SIM to that same IMEI, because on the end of the registry, we're able to tell that that device is configured as a double SIM or as a single SIM device. So it won't be a problem for people who use two SIMs in one phone.
Okay, I have to go for a break. Cool. So that question also came similar on the same path from Dr. Irama Asante. So you've answered that one.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to go for this quick break. This is Keep One. We're live on 3FM 92.7. A number of your messages and on this particular issue, we will read them. I promise you that. But this morning, the outfit I'm wearing, as always, by Cobra Clothing is the best version of you. You can locate them on the Spintex Road for this Jalabia and many others you see me wear on Saturday mornings. So the key point, they are on the 18 Junction Spintex opposite the Allied Oil Filling Station, ground floor, same building with the Ghana Made store. Contact them on 0244 238 341. 0244 238 341 for some more of this outfit and many others you see me wear on the key point. Also, we're getting into the Easter period. Next week, Friday, I think it's Good Friday, no? Yeah.
3rd April.
Yes.
Is that next week Friday?
I should think so. Yes. And this, I'm talking about the Maha Beach Resort. It's a beach vacation this Easter holidays. Create unforgettable memories at the beach with family and friends by booking our all-inclusive 3 nights package from 3rd to the 6th of April 2026, starting from 5,100 Ghana cedis for a couple. There's a 10% discount for those of you watching us on the key point. So take these two numbers, call Maha Beach Resort, because there's going to be a special weekend where all the guests you see on the key point will also have a weekend stay at Maha Beach Resort, so you can interact with them. There are two numbers. Call them and tell them that you want a 10% discount because I said so, that you are watching us. 050-157-0684, 050-157-0684, or 0540-124-114, 0540-124-114. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
just go straight to the point. Ease of doing business and making it easy for people to come into Ghana. It's a Jata. When you go to Heathrow right now, you land, you can get a SIM card straight and use. So where are we going with this? Then if somebody arrives at our airport and cannot straight away access this in a SIM card.
So with the new registration process, once we pass the airline, telcos will be allowed to set up at points of entry to offer their own cards. In some countries like the UAE, because there's a government-owned telecom company, they give you the government telecom SIM when you enter Dubai. Here, because we don't have a government like Ghana Telecom, we as government will not be issuing the SIMs, but we would allow the telecom companies now to have the tourist SIMs at the airport. So you arrive, it's registered for you, it has a 90-day validity, and then you can use that.
Okay. Then number 2. So the blocking, what goes into blocking and how easy is it for the person to come and disprove that he wasn't doing fraud and so he can be unblocked?
So if a complaint is made about fraud, what we're able to do is work with the Chamber of Telecoms and the telecom service provider to look at the transaction on that number. Because most times you realize that when even you do a transaction, when the numbers involved in fraud, as soon as the money is transferred to them, they transfer the money off again. So if you see a cycle, you're able to identify what are fraudulent cycles. You're able to see the flow of cash, 1,000 cedis, then it comes in a matter of seconds, it's moved off to another place. You're able to tell an account wallet that is being used. The person has to explain, why is money coming in from multiple sources? Are you a business SIM?
Okay.
If you're a business SIM, we'll see how money comes. And if you're a business SIM, why does the money hit your account and within a minute it's pushed out to another? You have to explain. So there's a process.
So will it be like a tribunal, court-like,
yes,
and timelines?
There's a tribunal that will work on all of those.
Timelines, especially. So that if I'm blocked right now and I'm not a fraudulent person.
All of those are in the airline. That's why we're saying the airline spells out the processes for all of this. And that's why it's important that you have an airline which gives people the remedies for any policy action that's taken.
Okay, and then if the device is registered, the next day the person loses the device.
Yes.
And goes to start to register a new one. Will there be any?
If you lose your device, you report it using a short code so that we're able to block that device. So even and what this does is
with someone else's phone.
Yes. So you can always, but all it will do is it will do a verification of you. So your device gets lost. You go with your Ghana card to the telecom operator as you do today, and then they'll give you a new SIM card.
Okay, thank you.
Verify you. Oh, Alfred, let me just land on this. They verify you. Once you get your new SIM card, don't forget that the OTP will then be sent to that SIM card to verify that you are the one.
Okay.
And then you can go through the process of re-registering your new device, or even if you sell your phone.
I'll buy a new one.
So you go on the system and delink your SIM card from that device.
All your biometric.
You understand me? And it will do the biometric verification. It allows you to do the delinking and relinking. All of that is done easily on the. In fact, SIM swaps are also going to be allowed to be done. SIM swaps are part of the major issues that telecom fraud is going on. You'll be able to do your own SIM swaps on the app yourself.
Is there any date for this registration of the SIMs?
I won't give you a hard and fast date because we're still doing a lot of consultation. Like I said, we're going to lay the airline when Parliament resumes in May, and so 21 days should take us to maybe sometime end of June. So I'm sure sometime in Q3 we'll be able to announce a hard and fast date to start in Q3. But like I said, we're doing all the engagements. We've done telcos, we've done the media, we're doing Parliament in the coming week, and all the various stakeholders. Because as far as President Mahama is concerned, this must be exhaustively consulted.
Quarter 3, July, August, September, thereabout. All things. If your phone is stolen and sold, will this process also help in tracking or blocking the stolen phone?
Blocking the stolen phone immediately. Tracking, also very possible.
It says, I got defrauded of 5,500 Ghana cedis just last week, Tuesday. Ask the minister, for now, can those who use telecoms to scam us be brought to book?
You go and check the identity of the SIM, the Ghana card that was used to register that SIM, for example. And there have been instances where we've worked with law enforcement. And you go and find out that the SIM card, the Ghana card that was used is a 78-year-old bedridden man in some village. How could that person have been the one doing that? So it means that Ghana card was used to fraudulently register that SIM and is being used. That's why we need to clean up the system.
Okay.
So my apologies and condolences to the person for losing 5,500. But hopefully when we start this process, this will be things of the past.
Condolences.
5,500 is not small money.
A lot. Yes, indeed. Akosia's disposition this morning, okay. But the last part of it says our
Oh, the person
political actors. No, it is not. It is not. And I would want us to say our political actors should do their best to come to the table of dialogue with relevance. You see, okay, thank you very much. This one here. Okay, hello, Alfred. Can you please ask the minister what happens if one misplaces their phone and gets a new SIM? What's the process since the old
if you
phone
misplace your phone, again, the phone is reported, it's blocked on the device. If you get a new SIM, you would register the new SIM. So this process is going to become an ongoing process once we finish the mass registration. Everybody who gets a new SIM will go through the process as has been outlined. And then once you register your new SIM, you link that SIM to the IMEI of the new device you are going to use. So it's an ongoing process. It doesn't end on a certain date. It continues.
What data governance processes are they putting in place to curb exposure of the PII? I'm sure you know that. Is it P2? I think that's what they say. From the third parties you're going to engage to build the application.
So basically, the Data Protection Commission is working with us extensively on the data governance bit. And don't forget, the good thing is that the Data Protection Commission is part of the Ministry of Communications, one of our agencies. So they're working very closely. In fact, Data Protection, Cybersecurity are working very closely with the NCA in discharging this. So I can assure the person that all data concerns are being taken care of. We're making sure that everybody involved in this is a certified data processor and handler. We're making sure that the right steps are taken across board. And even beyond this, on mobile money fraud, Alfred, let me just use this to say, mobile money is not directly under the Ministry of Communication and the NCA. It's under the Bank of Ghana. But everybody expects the ministry to... So we're working now with Governor Johnson to see how well we can collaborate in terms of the regulatory oversight.
In fact, talking about Dr. Johnson Esiama, he has a message that's sent for Mr. Kofi Bentil. So I'll do that because we have a minute. Honorable, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this.
Richard Ahiagba, who is the Director of Communications of the MPP, sent a message. That's a question to you. Is it possible to integrate the Kelny GVG data collected under ESLA with NIA?
No.
It says no. Okay, thank you. That's to you, Richard Ahiagba. This is the message from Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama to Kofi Bentil this morning. Mr. Bentil, and this was specific to the issue about the Bank of Ghana and the transactions issues that you raised. Kofi should pay me a visit. He should stop the wild allegations. We are ready to answer you. Come, make a call, and I will come. I'm ready to open the books. He should come to my office, and I will explain to him. That's the governor of the Central Bank.
This is John Mahama's governance.
The whole the whole governor. He gets my number. Last week I was busy dealing with some lectures I had to give, and I was told that the governor is inviting me on social media to come to his. So I said, what is that?
Oh, that's good.
No, please. You are not listening to me. You are not listening to me. No. You are not listening to me. You are not listening to me. Okay. See, out of respect for his office, okay, I intend to arrange and go. But Doc, it's not everything we do on social media. You go and put an invitation.
No, in fact, this was not actually on social media.
Did you not get it? Did you not see it? He didn't have your
Honestly,
number.
I didn't see. Somebody told me.
But that's the power of social media.
No, I'm saying
the president of the biggest of the free
he
world.
has my number or can get it. There are so many discussions we have on the side.
Thank you, lady.
No problem, Governor. Ose, thank you. We didn't talk about the fuel price hikes, and even on this gold thing, still we didn't discuss it. It was on the issue.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate you, and lady.
Anyway,
Akosia, thank you very much for coming. Prof, thank you so much. Almost George, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very
too.
much.
It was a good
this
program.
matter of the fuel is evolving. In fact, this week there's a projected dynamics on the world market. So it's an issue we're going to get into extensively next week.
The main point is we should stop playing politics with fuel.
Thank you very much.
MPP are nowhere near coming to power because we have started seizing government appointees' vehicles.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys.